Oh my god.
Are we back, baby?
We're back, baby.
Oh my
That's
God.
like we never really left. Did
Oh
we
my
ever
God.
really leave?
Yeah.
Hi guys. This is our second time trying to start. We forgot to format the SD card and then forgot how to format the
We had to
SD card.
FaceTime Trav.
Had to FaceTime Travis. He's on a boat.
Yeah.
He's I don't know how many time zones away from us. Saved our necks.
Yeah.
Among other things.
And I'm just like sitting there with a fan under my pits because I'm like, well, I don't know anything.
Photos will be posted. Hi guys, welcome back. This is Splice Splatter, the film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where classic horror
It's modern gore.
We're your hosts. I'm Sienna. Ooh. We're all the grass.
Sorry.
Great
Sound
ASMR
effects.
content.
You're welcome. Subscribe.
Patreon bonus.
Oh,
That's
boy.
where we make the big bucks.
I was like, what should we even revisit anything that we talked about?
I
was
don't
just
know
talking
what we
about-
talked about.
Well, my dogs woke me up at the
Oh,
witching
yes.
hour.
Oh, yeah. Neither of us got a whole lot of sleep. Well,
Did
yeah.
you not get sleep either?
I'm-
You never get sleep. You gotta learn.
I-
Here's the thing. Sienna's in their 20s
It's
still.
Yes.
And
For a little
I'm
bit
telling you, you're
longer.
going to tick over 30
Yeah.
and you're going to be like, ooh, sleeping
Yeah.
at 9 sounds
Oh,
lovely.
Oh, I know it's coming up on me fast, and I'm trying to get the last of those
Yeah.
20s
Yeah,
energy
yeah.
juices out.
Oh my God.
while
Yeah,
I can.
enjoy. That's why I think I
Yeah.
tell you, like, just do the thing. Go do the thing.
Yeah.
Because when you're 30, I swear to God, people told me there was a switch. And I feel like, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like,
Sure,
there really
sure.
is. Or at least
I'm
for
not
me.
surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Well, part of it was I figured out how to digitize VHS recordings last night, which things will be coming on socials from this.
Oh my
But
God, I'm
yeah,
so excited.
because of that, I was like, I may never sleep again. So
In your laboratory.
no, literally, just me underneath my red lamp at like 3 a.m.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
it was-
do you feel like you've left?
I'm
To
not
the
sure
same
that I
liminal
did.
space?
Again, have we ever left? Did we ever leave?
It's the back rooms,
Yeah.
the red back rooms.
The grasses. There's just like a little hole in the middle of my living room that pops me out into the Splice Splatter recording space, and that's how I travel.
Oh God.
That
Little
I mean,
wormholes.
I would be late less often if that were the case.
Yeah.
But
To be fair, I always try and be early. I'm either super early or I'm super late. So, anyways, that must be fascinating for you all. It's happening.
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna
So
start blabbing.
yeah, we're gonna see how we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Neither of us are functioning on a ton of sleep, but I'm functioning on a ton of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So-
I don't know if I am
How
yet.
are
We'll
you?
see.
How much enthusiasm are you bringing to the table
I like
today?
about a 2 out of
On a scale-
100.
Good.
Yeah. I do have enthusiastic things though. I'm gonna get these out now before we kind of like babble and
Excellent.
get into things.
Cool.
Because I'll forget.
Yes.
I did write myself a little script, which we're not gonna read because I'm really
Love it.
we've learned when I start to read things, it really goes downhill. So we're very excited. I'll start with the I'm gonna start
my
with the thing.
goodness.
So
I have
the
no
Jean-
idea where you're
I was
going.
gonna say, well, the Jean Cocteau Cinema. I know we teased to you guys that on our last episode that we're gonna have tickets for the craft on sale. Those are on sale. And Sienna thought of a fun little giveaway. We always like to dress up for have people dress up to come to screenings and stuff. So
And this is an obvious one.
yeah, this is like you're our people, and we
Yeah.
love dressing up for specifically the craft. We were so excited.
Yeah, and like I need another chance to get out more of my craft closet
Yeah,
options.
option
like,
2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
it's
we're
very
gonna
self-serving.
truly. So we're gonna be doing a giveaway for best dressed for there. So you'll get a craft poster
Designed by Al.
designed by me, and then also some Splice merch. We'll decide what that is on the day probably.
TBA.
We'll have if you're looking
TBA.
yeah,
TBAL.
to dress up. Yeah, TBAL truly all the time, especially these days. So yeah, come buy tickets at jeancocteaucinema.com. Come see the craft. It is playing the first weekend of September. Another thing that we're doing is Rose at the Crow's Nest Oddities graciously invited us to 2 events, but the one closest is September 14th, so day before my birthday. On a Saturday, they're going to be having another pop-up at the Crow's Nest. So we will be there for that. Come say hi. We'll have merch, all the good stuff. And then the last thing we're doing in September, I'm not taking on any more things, is we are proud sponsors of Morgan Crypt Horror Fest in Albuquerque.
So excited.
Yeah, we just had the conversation with Jeff, who was lovely. One of the founders, him and his wife, founded Morgan Crypt last year. This is their second year. There's a lot of cool like they have a ton of vendors going. There's a ton of actors, like big. I'm really excited about what's his name from American Horror Story.
As soon as Jeff said American Horror Story, I like,
he was like
screamed.
Yeah, and so they announced that. So if you go Morgan Crypt with a K, you can buy tickets and see more info at morgancryptabq.com. And also along with that, we're doing a giveaway for that because we bought 4 tickets
because we were just gonna go,
but now we have
us.
4 tickets just to be there. So we're giving away those 4 tickets. So 2 pairs of 2. So there's two people can win, and you could bring somebody with you for the Saturday. So it'll be the 28th. Our Instagram will have that. So, like, follow us, tag a friend. I figure, like, the more friends that you tag, the more entries you get. So go do that. It's really simple. And yeah. I feel like, So, yeah, lots of things. Those are that's my spiel of stuff. So very busy. We're gearing up for that because, we have a booth at Morgan Crypt. Morgan Crypt. We kept doing the thing where we were saying it like one way and another, and now I'm like fucked up.
Yeah,
I'm fucked up
I'm the one who fucked us up because I thought that it was
we said it both ways.
But
does K come before M? LMNOP.
Yeah.
QHIJK LMNOP. I was like, wait, where's the K? It's
delete.
It's a miss. Oh boy. But yeah, so we have a booth there. I think we're gonna do like a little photo op. We'll have some more
like
and different merch
set, basically. Yeah.
So I mocked up something for us. We'll see how it looks.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. If we design it the same way that I designed it early, we will post that because I feel like it's kind of fun to see fruition. So those are all the fun worky things where you can come see us if you're local.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to go to Albuquerque too. I feel like we have a lot of you that listen in Albuquerque too.
And we don't always get to see you. And so which also, speaking of, I just wanted to say, because I'm the one who most frequently is checking our socials for the podcast, Al sees them too. And particularly,
I read them all. Yeah. I just then make it harder for you because I'll read them all. Yes. And then I'll be like, you've comments to get to. Unless it's like a specific thing where I'm like, I have the knowledge.
Where it's like directed at you. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm the one who's checking most of those. And y'all have been sending us and tagging us in so many adorable photos of you in the Splice shirts. And it is making my day every time.
It's really cool.
It just like,
it's really fun.
Yeah, it's really.
To see how everyone wears it.
It's so surreal, and it's so like, it really is touching to see that you guys are like
it's like tactical. I feel like it's weird when you're like behind here in a room and then versus out. So that's why I feel like going to the pop-ups is going to be so fun. Yeah. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Truly.
It's nice to talk to someone other than Sienna.
God, I can only imagine. I am so sorry.
No, this is my favorite part of the weeks. Truly. So
imagine how awful it is for me. I'm in my head all the time.
Oh my God.
There's no getting away from them.
Same. All these issues. Come on. Yeah. Should we jump into what we're
covering? Yeah. So we are doing a kind of early fall, end of summer, beginning of fall pairing.
Yeah.
I'm covering Children of the Corn, the OG from 1984.
I'm doing In the Tall Grass 2019. It's a Netflix film. Sounds so much less exciting than it is.
But I didn't realize that they are both Stephen King adaptations, which I didn't know until the end credits.
Oh, really? I thought we mentioned it.
Did we not? It's possible that we didn't. It just went in one of my ears and out the other.
It was at the end. Yeah. It's kind of fun that we did them because they're very similar. Also, the weather here. It has been raining and cold and spooky, and I just like watched it and I lit like a little pumpkin candle and I was just like, we are here.
I grow corn, and so I like went out and checked on my corn patch. Oh, good.
Creepy.
I almost was going to bring a stalk in, and then I was like, "That's too much, Sienna, and you're gonna get dirt all over the carpet."
You don't care about the dirt. I think for theatrics that would have been amazing. I also would have been like, "Who the fuck are you?" Who
Does
are
this
you?
Surprise anybody? Of course,
again,
I grow
the outfit
corn.
You dressed as what's his name?
As Isaac.
Isaac.
Yes. Well, and again, we'll get more into this once we get into Children of the Corn, but my dad was born and spent his first 6 years in a very religious, tiny Nebraska corn farming town.
Oh.
Like about the size of the one in Children of the Corn. So this has some personal spice for me. So.
I was going to say, didn't grow up in cornfields, but I grew up liking corn. I don't know.
Did you grow up in grass fields?
We had Michigan's woods mainly.
Fields.
Yeah, woods fields. I was walking the dogs like around my complex though last night, and we have these tall stalks of like wheat grass looking things.
That's almost more New Mexico.
No one out, and it was like blowing, and it was like right in between watching these films. I was like, this is a little spooky. We're gonna like skedaddle back.
I have to say this was actually quite a scary pairing for me.
Was it?
Than I expected. We'll get more into watch experience in a second. But yeah.
I think I'm teeing us.
Yeah,
oh God.
You're teeing us up. Do you have a tidbit to tee up?
I don't know. I do. I know. Again, because I would say we're always crunched on time, but it's because me and you, I think, could have 4-hour podcasts.
It's so true.
So it's not even that. It's just like our normal time. So a tidbit. I will say a tidbit just because I have stuff. At the end,
I know you had said that you had trouble finding stuff for this one, and
I did. I had to do. Again, we kind of only get like one day to not only do notes, but to watch two movies and do our other jobs.
Yes.
So it feels like it's a very crunch time. So I had to do a lot more like digging into articles. Normally IMDb saves my fucking ass. I'm gonna be so fucking for real. I'll copy and then I'll like Google a fact that I think is cool and then like something comes up. IMDb had like nothing for me. So I just had to like freeball it and it was really hard. So I have a lot of quotes from people who helped get me this information. So it's lots of quotes.
Love it.
Love a tidbit. Oh, there's a 1959 Chevrolet car sitting outside of the church in the film, and its grille was customized to resemble Christine, the 1950 Plymouth from Stephen King's novel by the same name. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's so cute.
It's a very Stephen King thing to do too, to like give a nod.
A King style Easter egg.
Yeah, so I feel like automobiles was like a thing.
Yeah,
for him. Was it not?
Well, I mean, Christine, obviously, but like,
I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is.
I
don't know who she is. Who is she?
She's the car, Al. She's the car.
The car.
The car.
Is there a movie about
Christine
a car?
Of Christine? Yes.
Is that like Carrie of Carrie?
Yes, but she's a car instead of a teenage girl.
Oh.
Yeah, it's his like scary car movie. We'll cover We'll cover it sometime when I finally talk you into thinking that David Cronenberg's Crash is a horror movie, and we can.
I do want to watch the David Cronenberg Crash, but to talk, I would love to pair Christine with another film. I can't remember the name, but it's like an 80s film, and like all these appliances and stuff come to life. And then there's like the trucks, like. You know,
is there like an evil toaster?
I believe so.
Correct?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
There's also one about a killer tire too, which would be an interesting thing.
Yeah, that sounds
that's
rubber. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to do one of those. You're doing Christine.
Yes.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bless you.
Do you have a tidbit for us?
I do have a tidbit.
You always do. You come prepared. We can tell which one of us like was a more studious person growing up, because
tell which one of us is a fucking nerd.
I'm a nerd in other ways.
Yeah,
I have like a Lego car collection happening right now, so like
we have other things. We're both nerdy, just different kinds,
different
genres. Flavors.
Yeah.
So we need to take a tidbit moment to talk about Courtney Gaines, who plays Malachai, who is probably the most iconic part of Children of the Corn. He's the redheaded kid.
Oh, yeah.
Silence, Malachai! Yeah. So, fucking Courtney Gaines. You know, I love crazy audition story.
Yeah.
He has maybe the craziest audition story that I've covered yet.
Wow. And we talked a lot of them on the faculty, too.
We did. Okay. Yeah. So this is really something.
Yeah.
I should have written down exactly how old he was at the time he auditioned for Malachai, but
he couldn't have been very old.
He couldn't have been very old. This was his first major film role. And during the audition, again, actors, I'm not saying do this. I'm saying this is a funny story to look back on.
Yeah. It worked for him.
Yes.
For this specific role.
Yeah. He brought a prop knife to the audition and actually took a casting agent hostage. And everybody was like, well, this is fucking terrifying.
Oh my God, what a
Obviously,
wild time
we've got to
to
go
like
with.
be able to do that.
Again, could
you can't
never happen.
You do that today, you are in jail.
As you should be.
For,
Like
like,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
insane
Oh my
behavior. But
God.
and I'm pretty sure he was underage at the time because then his there's like interviews with his parents afterwards being like, honestly, we watched the film and we were fucking terrified. Like we don't know
Yeah.
what overtook our son during that movie.
Yeah.
Which again, I think is one of the most
Ooh.
memorable parts of this film is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there is something evil inside Malachai.
Yeah, he's fucking terrified.
There's something going on there, man.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
not
that's
saying
funny.
in Courtney Gaines because he himself has like this
But he
very
channels.
yeah,
Mhm.
and he's like very funny about it looking back. He's like, this is one of the proudest moments of my life that I was able to
Aw.
scare all of these kids.
Yeah.
He like, I think he's kind of a horror convention guy.
I was gonna
so-
say, is he? Yeah. He
yeah,
seems like
so
he would
he's
make
like
the rounds.
very he owns it a
Aw.
lot, and he's like gets a lot of glee from how much he freaked everybody, including his family, out. But like,
Honestly,
my God,
yeah. Scaring people is one of my favorite pastimes.
yeah. I thought you were gonna enjoy that.
I
was like,
love
again,
scaring people.
This cannot happen anymore, but Al
Yeah.
may get a little bit of secondhand glee from this story from
Totally.
the wild 80s.
So unhinged. I
Yeah.
know, it's so funny to think of like auditions and how they could you could do that and it was like fine.
Truly. Again, glad we don't live in those times anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
glad we get to enjoy the story in
Yeah.
retrospect.
That's
And
a
that the
good one.
casting agent was fine and it wasn't a real
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Everything was fine, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Imagine he
Just
whispers
enjoy
though,
it.
like it's just a prop.
Yeah.
And like the casting agent's like, oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I wonder if
yeah.
he like whispered it.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
That's a good one. You always come with really good
I thought you were
tidbits.
gonna enjoy that.
Mine just
one.
are throwaways. Or it's like a personal. Like I like cereal
But
this
I
way.
love an owl bit. My
Ugh.
owl bits are my favorite bits.
Okay, I'm glad you
Yeah.
keep saying that. We'll see how long those will hold up. But anyways.
I think there are always going to be more owl bits to bring in. It's just
I
a
have
matter
so
of
many.
how quickly
Again,
I can draw them out of you.
I feel like there's so many things I can tell you about myself that are weird. Oh, I saw a dead bird today without a head. I took a picture of it. I'll post that.
Please.
too. I was like, "Ooh, this is a good sign for the day."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good recording.
Yeah.
Also very appropriate for your film because
feel
there's like a dead crow at
Yeah.
the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of crows.
These
Giving
were
the crowing.
the
at
crowing,
parts.
truly.
Yeah.
These were a wild pairing.
And so they're clearly so in conversation. Again,
Oh, yeah.
obviously both being based on Stephen King.
Yeah.
When did the novella that yours is based on come out?
Oh no! Did I write the date of when that came out? No, I didn't.
Oh
Shit.
no.
Warren, can you look that up for us? I just wrote that they did it. Why didn't I put the date? That's wild.
I mean,
I almost
again,
forgot
I
to write
didn't-
something about the director and found out wonderful information.
Ooh.
So, okay, should I? Yeah, so Warren's looking it up for us.
Stall, everybody, stall.
I can tell you that it premiered.
Who knows any jokes?
So this one time,
Al tidbit coming out.
yeah, a gay autistic person walked into a bar, immediately left. That's my joke. Okay.
2012.
2012.
Oh,
We
yeah,
are
'cause it was-
informed.
Esquire magazine.
An Esquire.
Oh, because it was with
Squire.
his son, too.
Yeah,
right?
him and Joe.
Yeah,
Joe Hill.
cute.
So.
Who we also carry in Beastly. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I forgot to shout out
yeah.
our Beastly Stephen King books. We've
Yeah.
got a good chunk of Stephen
plethora,
King in
yeah.
stock right now. I know we've got copies of Carrie. We have, let's see, what were the ones that I had one of our coworkers recommend? Firestarter. I know that's a particular fave of the Beastly staff. And Dead
Oh, and
Zone.
Warren, it looks like, too.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
And Dead Zone, which when we get to my film, has a Dead Zone tie-in. So that's a
yeah.
little Easter egg for
Beastie
you.
books, yeah, we got a special code that you guys can use.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
You know what it
You've
is.
listened, and if you haven't listened back, you'll
Yeah,
see it.
do your
It's there.
homework.
we had to
Not
do
that
ours.
we do. Yeah,
we always yell at
exactly.
someone every single time. So premiered at Fantastic. So in the Tall Grass, 2019, it premiered at Fantastic Fest on September 20th, 2019. So we're coming up on a
yeah.
5-year.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little anniversary.
And then it came to streaming October 4th, 2019. I think that's
Okay.
when I first saw it. I saw it relatively close to it coming out.
Oh, I was wondering what your first watch experience was.
Your
'Cause I-
first.
This was my first, yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I did. I hadn't watched a trailer for it, but
Oh.
for reasons that will be clear to anybody who knows about my movie, I've pinned a lot of photos from the inside of the church onto my lookbook. For,
I have a moment on
yeah.
the church, too.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Those green glass windows.
Yeah. Yep,
Ugh.
we'll get to those,
Yeah.
actually. So, yeah.
Ugh, chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
I feel like this was a sleeper one. So it's kind of talked about it as like a horror mystery sci-fi thriller, so it's very genre blending.
Yes, there's a lot, and both of these have a lot of supernatural elements.
I know.
Yeah, there's some
weird,
stuff going on.
Very Stephen King coded.
Yours is very like speculative fiction. Like it's
absolutely.
Kind of in between a lot of different genre spaces.
I think that's why, and again, we'll get to this too at more at the end, but I think that's why I like to I feel like this is such a sleeper film, so like I'm curious to see how many people that are listening to this that have watched it, and then curious to hear people's reactions watching it for the first time too.
I was fascinated to see, after I watched it, I went and checked on Letterboxd to see what of the people that I follow had seen it already, and more than I'd expected had, and all of them didn't like it. And let me just say, I had some problems with it. Yeah. And we can talk about what those are.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this film in particular.
But I thought it was vastly underrated from what I saw.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to hate it. I'm not going to lie.
Oh my God,
it gave me like you were going to come in Midsummer vibes and like rip it.
Oh, that's so good.
I was so worried.
Again, there were things that I took issue with, but I think that the first half is stronger than the second half, but the first half was so strong that I was just like, on the virtue of this alone, I can't believe that A, more people aren't talking about this, and B, more people aren't giving it credit for the fact that it was one of the more refreshing modern horror films that I've seen. And I also just, I took very few notes for this one, but one of the only notes I wrote down was like, oh my God, Al, this is like such a Sienna coded film for you to have brought in.
Yeah. I thought it was very I thought it was very also just like visually intriguing too.
It's visually juicy.
Yeah. There's a lot of like symbolism and it's a meaty one. I still feel like this is my second time it was my second time watching it. I feel like it's like simplistic in a way. I'll read the description and everything like that. I feel like it's simplistic in a way, but there's also like so many layers to it that sometimes I'm like, I was like, feels like Sienna should talk about this one.
Again, it feels like there's like
undertones.
There's so many potential film theory rant corners.
Yeah, we will not get. I will not get into those. But if you have them for my film, let me know.
I mean, mine is kind of about both of ours. So we'll see.
The overlap,
they're very overlappy.
So, description for this: after hearing a young boy's cry for help, a sister and brother venture into a vast field of tall grass in Oklahoma, but soon discover there may be no way out, and that something evil lurks within.
I didn't know it was set in Oklahoma. That's interesting. Does that appear on screen? I might have missed that.
I don't know if they said. For some reason, I thought it was Nebraska. But I think they like have the name of the town kind of thing in it, or like the.
All I caught was Heartland.
Yeah, they were just in between. We are aware that they are in between driving from somewhere to San Diego.
Yes, and that it's this cross country trip, so it's got to be somewhere in that middle of the country stretch.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was like said, but I almost like that because I feel like it could be anywhere. Yeah. There's one tagline for this, and it's a good tagline, which we do love. I missed the campy ones, but there was only one.
I brought in some campy ones for you this time. I've got us covered for camp.
So
we got some corny ones.
We got some corny ones.
That got a Warren chuckle. That got a Warren shaking his head in disapproval. So I win.
So you do win.
I've disgusted Warren.
It's my goal, that now. Honestly. So the tagline for this is "Some places have a mind of their own."
Ooh.
Which feels, again, it gives that like spooky element, but also gives that very like sci-fi element of like what's going on here, like what's about to happen.
It feels very Shining too.
Which this Children of the Corn and The Shining, I think I have a little note that those are all in conversation with each other, like intentionally. I think Stephen King kind of has these live in this world.
I definitely have a lot of notes on where Children of the Corn taps into like the extended King universe. So there's a lot of that's I think part of what's so delightful about his work is it does kind of cross over from one story to the next.
Have you ever read Stephen King?
I haven't read him yet. I'm so sorry, Twig.
It's me and Trav's goal to read Pet Cemetery.
Oh, I love
I don't know why we're whispering. guys, no one can,
I'm so sorry
that we haven't read Stephen King.
I just saw
If we
Warren give
whisper.
this like distressed look at the audio levels.
That's why we give levels.
It's true.
So moving on. Director Vincenzo Natali. He, again, I almost forgot stuff for him, but he directed 2009's Splice.
that.
I
It
watched
was
that in a
meant to
film
be.
class for the first time.
Oh.
Horrified watching that collectively with my peers.
I
We all were like, can we turn this off now?
I don't know what it's about.
It's
I
so
know
fucked up.
nothing
Don't know
about
what
it.
it's about and go into it and report
Ooh,
back.
cool.
I might
Love it.
force Sienna.
Excellent.
You're going to hate it. You're going to love it. There's rant corners.
Yeah.
He also, what I found out, is a really big storyboard artist, which I feel like for such a visually telling.
So tracks.
He did Ginger Snaps, storyboard artist for Ginger Snaps. He did it also for a bunch of my childhood like cartoons, including the Beetlejuice cartoon.
No.
Little Bear, which was like my favorite.
Oh,
and do you remember
my heart.
Rupert too was another big one. It was like on it flew under the radar. I was a big like cartoon kid
No
in that
idea
era.
what that is. But Little Bear was
Little Bear is
my childhood. Yeah.
Also born in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, look at that.
So,
A little Michigan shout out.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot.
That's so cool.
We wouldn't have these cool nuggets. So
yeah. Oh my God. The Ginger Snaps connection.
Yeah, storyboard
That's
artist.
so
So he's got a
fascinating.
cool career. He wrote this as well, based off of. So he was the main writer for this, based off of Stephen King and Joe Hill's story, 2012.
Cool. Thanks, Warren.
So I'm gonna kind of jump into like casting first, and then get into starring because I think it's
Cool.
kind of an interesting lead up to casting this film.
Yeah.
So when it comes to casting, the director said, "Here's where my quotes start. Bear
Excellent.
with me."
Strapping in.
He says, "As somebody who worked in this space before, that it's really important that the actors kind of express their fear." And that he's seen some really good actors, is what he says, that for whatever reason couldn't express their fear. They couldn't kind of commit to allowing you to see that on screen. And he was like, if you can't do that, then the audience won't be afraid either, and it just wouldn't work. Yeah. So what he says is that he made a point when they were casting the movie that he definitely wanted that to be a main point for the actors and let them know up front that they were also going to go through this really emotionally and physically strenuous production, which, oof, we'll get into why.
Man.
So they should be prepared for those roles. And he said he was luckily, he found all the right people that were willing to commit to that. Specifically, Becky, the actress who plays Becky.
She was excellent. I thought.
She was really, really good.
I have to say, I think out of both of our movies, she was the strongest actor. Like across the board, at least the one who was giving the strongest performance.
She was giving.
And there are some incredible actors in Children of the Corn. I don't think they're doing their best work in Children of the Corn, is what I would say.
Yes, I will hold my opinion on that till we get there. But yeah, she was giving. I actually have remind me to play you a clip.
Oh my God, I love that you're
I have
clips.
audio clips. Yes, and I want
Amazing.
to see if you heard the same thing I did.
Excellent.
So he said Becky in particular, or the actors who played Becky in particular, was really open to showing her fear because of what her character was obviously going through. I think she's the one that gets like
That
the
needs
most
it, yeah.
literally dragged through the mud, and was able to give like an unfiltered performance. And it obviously for you too had a huge impact on the film. So about her performance, he says, quote, "She just let it all hang out. That's not an easy thing to do, and I don't think many people are necessarily capable of it. I would coach them, but there was a lot of them to work with. They were never standing in front of a green screen in a studio." We'll talk about that too, which I think helps with their performance. They were always in an environment they could react to. I mean, I think it's Laisla.
We'll go with that. I have no idea.
She actually got hypothermia while they were shooting from the rain, and it was this was a really physically taxing shoot for them.
Imagine.
And he says, but as painful as it was for her and the other actors, they were committed enough to use that pain to enhance their performance and make it feel really real.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I just thought, I love that he gave them, he gave them a preface of this is going to be a shitstorm, and it sounds awful. So, so we'll get into who it's starring. And so, Laisla, oh my God, I feel so bad. D. Oliveira, kill me,
is
bro.
It a Portuguese name?
I believe so. She's
I have no idea.
stunning. I watched like interviews with her too, and I hate when actors never say their name because I want to pronounce it the way that they pronounce it.
Yeah, and if you don't tell me how, I'm gonna fail.
I know, and I'm just like, because I hate, it's something that like bothers me when people mispronounce other people's names.
Same.
And then here I sit. making the offense.
I
So,
should have asked my mom because she speaks a little Portuguese. Actually.
next time. It's okay.
Next
We'll
time,
run it by your mom next
Mom?
time. We have Patrick Wilson as Ross.
I had no idea he was going to be in this, and I was like, "Oh, it's our horror guy."
Yeah, Patrick Wilson. I'm so excited. This is our first. I feel
First
like
Patrick
he's like a scream king, and finally we're talking about him.
Are there any other Scream Kings? He might be
There
the
are.
Scream King.
I think Devon Sawa was one. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know anything about that,
Devon
Sienna,
Sawa
would you?
ignorance.
So
Silence, Malachai! Don't question my methods.
The fucking dialogue in Children of the Corn. So obviously, Patrick Wilson's most known for Insidious and Conjuring series. He's in a bunch of stuff. He's also Watchmen. The first time I saw him ever was Hard Candy from 2005 with Elliot Page. And I remember renting that Blockbuster.
I rented it from Video Library earlier this year. It was a Lisa pick for me.
Had you not seen it until?
No, Lisa was like, "Don't look anything up about this, Sienna. You're gonna like it." And I was like, "You got it, Lisa."
If my mom would have known in 2005 when I was in high school that I like just cold grabbed that off the shelves and watched it. I
mean,
but he's
so terrifying.
Him and that. He's so good at that role. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
he's good at being
disgusting. He's good at being.
He actually would frighten me in a room.
Yeah.
I love him and he's my favorite and I think I would actually fangirl out over him.
And I'm sure that he's like an incredibly lovely person. Yeah, but he is such a talented actor at these kind of roles that there is like a little part of my lizard brain that cannot separate it.
Yeah. The lizard brain says I can't be in a room with this man alone.
Yeah. It's like I picked
Which is the highest of compliments.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're doing a great job.
So at the time, Patrick Wilson said that he was really kind of busy with projects prior. He was doing like all those movies, wrapping up some projects, and he was actually out of work for like 10 months. He was resting for 10 months. And so when he got the call and the offer for this, he was like, I don't know if I want to necessarily take something. I'm enjoying my peace, you know?
And this is not a peaceful movie, it sounds like.
Yeah, no. So he did say about getting this role that, quote, "For this, I saw Gerald's Game," which is another Stephen King, which was fantastic. When the whole process was sold to me, it's this very small cast. It's from a novella. Netflix was like, Netflix was involved, and he said I could see it all. I read the script, and I went back and read the short story. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but if I was going to jump into something after the 10 months, I didn't want it to be easy. This scared me, and there was enough outside of my comfort zone that I felt like it could push me.
I love that.
Yeah,
well,
he's like, I've rested.
From a Scream King, too.
Yeah. I've rested, and I've gotten my energy back. Yeah. So. But fun fact, someone was offered this role before him, and it was James Marsden.
Oh, my God. I'm so glad that they got Patrick Wilson instead.
James Marsden has range. I feel like he doesn't get credit, but that man's like sometimes too handsome to put in certain things.
Well, and that's
get him out of here.
That's part of what's so I think wonderful about Patrick Wilson in these kinds of roles is he's like
human.
Handsome. Yeah, but there's like there's still like an uncanniness about him that feels.
Why is it? I think it's his skin.
Yeah, there's.
He's really glassy. I want to know his skincare routine.
He looks almost like he's like a Barbie. Like there's something like plastic about him. Yeah. Which again, only as a compliment.
I know.
It's great.
There is something about him that like, but he also looks everyman, but his features are so sharp and stuff that he looks like beyond human.
Yeah.
But so James Marsden was up for it, but he he was doing the 2019 Sonic the Hedgehog. Which we all know how like the CGI went for that for a while until like the internet bullied the artist to change it. So yeah. Glad he didn't get it.
Internet bullying.
It works. It was for a good cause. It was a better movie because of it. We have Harrison Gilbertson as Travis. Travis.
I knew you were gonna do that.
So Harrison also, I have a quote from him, talked about working with Patrick Wilson. I think everyone was very excited to work with Patrick Wilson on this project.
I mean, he's the big name,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he was like the biggest name in this for sure. Because a lot of these actors, they don't have a huge list of
recognize
credits.
any of the other actors.
Yeah, same.
Not that they were doing a bad job.
No.
I didn't
just
recognize
unknown.
them. Yeah.
So he said about working with Patrick Wilson, quote, "He's so well versed in stunts due to the work that he's done on other films, and said it's very safe with him because you know that he knows to grab you by the hair without actually yanking your hair out." Again, physically taxing. He also goes on to say, going home and saying I got dumped in mud by the guy from The Conjuring was really cool.
Oh my God.
That's what I would be saying.
Yeah,
like,
dream job. Getting dumped in mud by the guy from The Conjuring. Patrick Wilson?
Yeah,
Call me
Wilson.
up.
Truly. We have Rachel Wilson as Natalie. And she also talked about working with Patrick Wilson on the physical aspects.
How could you not?
Yeah. She says, I just had a great experience because I was really well taken care of. He's amazing with stunts, with set safety, with creative collaboration, and how to make everything look the best it can. He was 100% a consummate pro.
Aww.
So, yeah.
See, again, it sounds like he's just like
he's
incredibly
so
lovely.
nerdy about his films. You know what I mean? He feels like that guy.
Well, and I feel like he's done so many horror movies at this point that he has to be a little bit of a horror fan. Yeah. Too. Like,
I don't think you could do this many and not.
I don't think you get that far into it. Because, like, he's at a point in his career where if he wasn't interested in it, he could be doing other stuff.
Like, what would he do, though?
That's
you know what I mean?
That's his thing.
Yeah, like
it's Patrick Wilson. He's there to terrify us. And we love him for it.
And we do love him for it. We have Avery Whitted as Cal, and then Bowie Jr. as Tobin. Terrifying child.
He was incredible. God,
isn't he really good?
They needed more child actors like that in Children of the Corn, first of all.
There were some, I feel like in some panning shots and like over like the crowd of children, there were some kids that were like giving it.
That's true.
Though, I'm going to be honest.
And again, Malachai, terrifying.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel like on a whole, not the worst for a gaggle of children.
To be fair, I'm counting Isaac out of that because Isaac was actually played by an adult. But we'll talk about that.
I know him from stuff too. I'm excited to talk about. So the budget for this, it was a Netflix. It's considered an indie. I'm gonna have you guess as always.
I was very curious about this one because apart from Patrick Wilson, it could easily be made for under $1 million. But there's Patrick Wilson
and 2019,
and it's in 2019. So. And it's Netflix. I am gonna say this feels like it's in the 2 to 7 million range.
Right, smack dab in the middle. It's 5, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so higher. I feel like probably Patrick Wilson. I think
some
Steven,
CGI.
Yeah, some CGI. Were the main points. And again, Netflix, I feel like they're just going to spend
They have the money to... Again, like, if this were a true indie, you could produce a lot of the things that this is doing for a lower budget. But if you're Netflix doing this, you're going to... Yeah. You're going to do the 5 mil version.
You can have some. Yeah. So, I think very reasonable for this.
Totally.
It still is, like, such a...
still an indie budget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By today's standards, absolutely. So, getting into the kind of the script and conception of this. So, obviously, we know it's based on a novel. But director Vincenzo apparently had already wanted to make this film as an adaptation in 2015 is what he said. So he said, quote, "Who would think that grass could be frightening? Trust Stephen King and Joe Hill to find a way."
True.
They have transformed an otherwise innocuous Kansas field into a stage for some of the most disturbing horror fiction I have ever read. So I love that he was kind of like a fangirl from the beginning.
That's so cute.
Kind of had us on this play. I'm so glad it didn't seem like it went anywhere other than his lap. So it was actually director Vincenzo and his producing partner, Steve Hoban, who went to Netflix originally to pitch this idea. So it wasn't Netflix going out or Stephen King going out. It was them coming in. He said that the script they had for quite a while. They had some discussion about it a few years prior. Ultimately, Netflix was like, we're not in a place to do this. No one was in a place to do this. But then Stephen King kind of had that moment again where the It remakes were coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And they also, it was a good time. They also had Gerald's Game.
Dr. Sleep, too. Was this period, too, I think.
I still have not watched
I haven't seen it either. And I know we've had a couple people requesting that we cover it. So
shit. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Josh's been bullying me to watch that one since the day it came out. And I don't know what, because I love Ewan McGregor.
He's amazing, yeah.
And like, there's nothing about that that's going to be bad.
No, it's going to, and I've heard generally good, like positive things about it.
I've only heard good things about it. I don't know what the fight is here, but there is a fight.
We're waiting for the right time, and the right time will come on the podcast.
And just like a right time, Vincenzo went back. I know, you're welcome. Segues are, I have to learn them. He went back because he was like, okay, let me strike while the iron's hot. Like, they're doing all these remakes, whatever. And
Now's
Netflix
the time.
And Netflix in May of 2018, so really only a year,
wow.
was like, they announced that they were getting the film rights for it. Vincenzo was set to direct and do the screenplay. So
Interesting.
perseverance, man. He played the long game and
good
got
for
it.
him.
Yeah. So
Love to
he
hear that.
also, yeah, it's really, again, we talk about this like behind the scenes of just
Yeah.
like it'll be, I feel like things will sometimes just like, okay, that wasn't the right time.
Right. But the
Yeah.
right time emerges.
Yeah. So he talks about working with, or like getting the okay from Stephen King. And he said, quote,
Because that's, I imagine,
terrifying?
Yeah, he's been burned a lot on his adaptations.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like, I feel like, doesn't he have the most adaptations of like any screenwriter ever?
Probably. And
I feel like there's one thing coming out a year from Stephen King.
yeah, and infamously, he hates a lot of them. So
I don't know why he keeps like saying that. He's got to kind of like it. Or he's a masochist.
I will say he's also one of the things that I love about Stephen King. He is one of the authors who I believe has a couple of short stories that he's put out that like film students can adapt for like $1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just like, I think that's really sweet. So I think that's also part of why there are so many adaptations coming out, is like, even though he is so particular about it, he also is very like giving in some ways.
He does allow I have the quote about it. He does allow like creative freedom, I think. So it's like
he'll
when you
complain
do
about it
that,
afterwards, but he'll let you do it.
Let you
Which,
do
like, I
it and do
respect
it your
that.
way. Like he was just gonna be like, I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah. He'll be
Has
a
he
little
ever
bit cunty
directed
about it, but
anything?
I don't think so. Which I would love to see.
He has.
also.
Oh, he directed. Didn't he do his version of The Shining? Because I think George complained about that. And he like Maximum Overdrive. Oh, if Trav was here, he would have yelled at us about that.
Thanks
Warren
for
said
yelling
it
at me,
politely.
Warren.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Politely, but there's rage under the surface.
I gotta feel like if I had that much work under my belt, allowing a bunch of creatives to create, it's gotta be kind of fun though to watch. Even if you're like, that was horrible. It's like, wow, look at how someone took my work and interpreted.
And I guess also once you're like the king of horror, it's like
truly,
you know that even if somebody does a terrible adaptation of your work, it's not going to come back and hit you because everybody knows you're amazing.
Yeah,
you're
really
Stephen
made
King.
a statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so luckily Vincenzo had a really good experience with him. He says it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're in the industry, he has to approve you. So even for $1, and then you options work for $, what he said. So it's very cheap, but you have to meet certain benchmarks in terms of writing the script and getting into the marketplace and so on.
It's so fair. I know.
It's
so fair.
Like, why doesn't it just all work like that?
Yeah.
So he goes on to say,
Stephen.
thank you, Stephen King. So he goes on to say that Stephen King also has a lot of approval over the material and the casting, and that he and Joe Hill never actually once exercised that control during this process, at least for him. And they really just encouraged Vincenzo to make his own film.
I love that.
And so he says, quote,
"It's such a different experience from the behind the scenes on my set."
Oh my God, really? Okay. So he says, quote, I think he understands that adaptation shouldn't be literal, and it certainly couldn't be in this case. So it was a real pleasure. They were very collaborative and easy.
Wow.
Would you never hear working with someone in the film industry?
No.
That's high
amazing.
is easy.
Yeah.
Easy is the word. So I kind of just... I love that. So
hard eyes, motherfucker.
he said that he wrote the scripts, gave it to them, and they approved them. And he was like, I'm actually not even sure if they read anything. They obviously did. But he was like, I just didn't hear anything in the process, probably because they were like, that's fine. It's yours. Like, do what you want. So, again, I personally haven't read this, but there are some kind of differences that were made, obviously going from just straight from Stephen King into now a visual medium is a completely different experience. Yeah. So the director said he actually grew up reading Stephen King, so it was kind of like terrifying for him to write this and submit it to a hero.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they said he just kept saying yes. They kept saying yes. Wow. And so he kind of just kept going. So in this process, he said he wanted to be as faithful as he could to the story, but knew that he would have to expand upon the story since it was being told, like I said, in this visual medium. He did say he kept a lot of the dialogue from the story in the movie, so it's quite faithful in that way. But where the novel kind of ends, he says the film kind of keeps going. So I think he added, I'm curious to see where the stopping point was. Maybe it's that midway point that you were talking about.
That
maybe he didn't
Time
go into it
tracks.
too much. I could see Stephen King like leaving it to like your mind,
especially for a novella where it's like the goal is to kind of open up the world and then let your imagination fill in the rest, which is I think a lot of why novellas tend to make for really good film adaptations compared to novels,
because it leaves a lot again open for interpretation. Yeah, there's room for it.
But that could well be that it's. I mean, it's hard to put the right button on a story like that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
People disagree with me, but that's fine. But yeah, he kind of just attributes everything to the novel and saying all the material was there for him to use. So a little, I don't know if I'm not super familiar, so I'm going to speak very vaguely. So if you have things to comment on, obviously this novel was the source material, but they also talked about some inspirations for both the novel and the movie, In the Tall Grass, and director Vincenzo actually cites Lovecraft as a big influence for this.
Total sense.
And as I read a little bit, I'm like, I feel like that's always like thrown around, and it's something I've never like looked into what it really means. But
I mean, he's like a racist squid monster guy. Like it tracks.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. That's not what I read. That is not what I read. Sienna, we read different things. Did I read the wrong thing? Is this a different Lovecraft? Racist squid monsters didn't come up on my Google search.
He's a complicated guy. It's fine. Continue.
Oh my God.
Where were you going with this?
Thing.
I'm so sorry.
A lot of men
Am I wrong?
in power that create, that just exist.
Also,
and if you were like, that's not me, I'm not this person, we're not talking about you, right? You're one of the good ones. But like, let's be so fucking for real. I just went down a wormhole of like quotes that men have said about like in power or like artists or kings or whatever. And like up to present day, I read like, I got so fumed, but like, not great people.
Yeah.
So
a wonderful
I'm not surprised.
foundational sci-fi writer who also dealt with a lot of xenophobia, shall we say.
Oh,
He was,
Okay, that makes sense.
Also, like
racist squid monster.
And like his whole thing was like basically these like alien squid monsters that are.
But it was like,
but there's like a lot of like undercurrents of Anyway,
that checks out.
That's my.
So we don't love him.
I mean,
Hatecraft.
Hatecraft. New Beasley Books merch idea. We should actually run
Lovecraft
that by Twig.
or Hatecraft?
That actually would be an incredible shirt. Lovecraft or Hatecraft. But it's in the craft font.
From the movie.
Yeah.
And we just we have the four girls, but Lovecraft's face on all four.
And they all have squid monster tentacles.
They use tentacles. Oh, it's like a faculty craft crossover.
La facultad.
No, we got back there.
I'm so
sorry. If any of you made
guys.
it to the last bit of last episode, yikes.
How?
No, we're not going back. We're going forward. So anyways, moving on.
You can't go forward. It's all just grass out. It's all just grass that leads you back to La Facultad.
Okay. Well, this has been so nice. Thank you all for listening. The podcast not over. It ceased to exist. I'm going into the ground.
Have a 3 strikes
That's why I'm dressed
policy.
like a little skeleton. I'm just gonna. You killed me today. I don't know why I feel so averted to that.
Oh my God.
I don't know what it is.
You really hate that,
I
don't
need to
you, Al?
I don't know why. I think it's the way you say
it's
it.
not good.
It's your tone, Sienna. It's your tone.
La facultad.
I think it's the tone. Let me know. DM me. Let me know if you're on my side or
Tell
Sienna's.
us why you hate it.
Everyone's on your side. That's so fucking for real. But anyway, so Hatecraft, Lovecraft or Hatecraft.
I'm so into that. I would wear the fuck out of that.
It kind of fucks.
Kind of fucks. Anyway, racist squid monster.
So
Continue.
I love that. Thank you for this knowledge. The director said, I certainly know Lovecraft was a big influence on Stephen King. In this case, we have kind of a Lovecraftian god that is, for lack of a better word, our central evil.
Totally.
And the Lovecraftian, in quotes, makes sense because it's ancient. Its existence is likely predates mankind, which is a common note in Lovecraft
thing,
which again I didn't realize because I've never really gone down a Lovecraft hole. Maybe for good reason. I don't know.
To be fair, he's like such a giant influence on sci-fi that like
that the name
Lovecraft
always comes
seeps
through.
Into like the faculty is very clearly Lovecraft
separating
inspired.
the art from artist.
Yes, exactly.
I think
He's a big example of that because again, his work has led to some really amazing stuff.
I know. He really does like weave a web, but I didn't kind of know notes to put in there, and I was like, okay, that was a very like simplistic way of kind of finding that through line with him. So The director goes on to also talk about how he doesn't kind of resist that label, I think, where sometimes we see people place this on a horror film and people are very averted to it. But he was like, it's...
this is a horror film.
Yeah. So I have a very long quote from him. But again, I feel like he just gave such good sound bites that I really want to quote him verbatim.
Please.
So he says, what he thinks is really powerful about Lovecraft and what makes him a difficult writer to adapt is that he rarely has the reader confront precisely what is frightening in the story, and that he rarely explains or describes it. He'll only allude to it. It's an enigmatic kind of horror, which I think that's why I love this film, and I think sometimes why that's overrated. He says, I find that really alluring, fascinating, and frightening. Partly because it's when you can't see something, your imagination tends to fill in the blanks, but also that situations... that's our situation as human beings. We're just dots, microbes living on this little rock, which again, like we all go into the grass. I don't know. Well, I think even that shot in the beginning too kind of gives that.
With the shot of the grass from above.
Yeah. It feels very like on a microbial level.
Well, and especially because then we like go into the woman's body and like we see that on it.
I love it. So this little rock, we have the tendency to think we're the center of this universe, but we're truly not. There's a word for that I always think about when a car drives past you and thinking how that person has like their entire life and like they're the main character in their story. I forget the word for
Solipsism?
Is that it?
It's like the belief that the world revolves around you. Which,
yeah,
like we all
but
have
it's
a little
it's not that.
like,
it's the opposite. It's the opposite of that. Is like when you see someone, you know that they have their entire
their
universe going on. Yeah. So I think it's a different word, but I love that idea. And he says so. The whole Lovecraftian notion is that we truly understood what was out there. We could go insane, and so he thinks it's actually correct. But again, I think that's sometimes a concept like this concept is in horror is sometimes. I don't know if people just don't. It feels like sometimes these are the ones that get swept under. I'm like, these feel so meaty.
Well, again, it's like even if, to be fair, I don't think either of our films are completely successful at achieving what they're going to achieve in the climax scenes. However, I think both of these films are trying to bite off a lot more than most horror films are.
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of different like stuff just under that like surface layer of dirt, if you will, that's kind of like bubbling and roiling and moving, that again, whether or not it fully works for you, and like I'll say for me, like once it gets into like this kind of like weirdly like pro-lifer analog, like it's all about saving the baby, like all that stuff, I'm like, and I'm tuned out now. I think that what it's doing on like a symbolic level and a metaphorical level, which is I think where the Lovecraft comes in, is really, it's grappling with some complicated stuff in a complex way that I found really, for the most part, effective.
Yeah. I'm so glad you felt that. I was so worried that you were gonna
oh my god, no.
And these kind of themes are hit or miss with me, especially once they get into kind of this more like religious aspect, just because I grew up so outside of that world that sometimes these don't hit me as hard. But I think this one was like based in such a grounded, complicated, like you said, conversation that was like easy to still like, there were still the thrills, there were still like points. Yeah. So we'll move on to some of the production bits that I was talking about. So this was filmed in Toronto, Ontario.
Makes sense.
Yeah, very closely to when they kind of like greenlit everything. And it was mainly in a field that was located near a bowling alley, which was featured in the film.
That felt like the sort of location that they like kind of wrote a scene to be able to use it almost.
I think so. Yeah. I think they really liked it. So
I mean, like, so did I.
Yeah.
Worth
it also it's such a fun location because you're like stuck in this one location. So to kind of get out of that for a minute, you have to have something a little bit interesting and cool. So the scene was shot at Elmira Bowl, which was a small bowling alley in Ontario where the production, they actually kind of had to give it a make under and give it this grungier look.
Makes sense.
Matt Peter, who was a carpenter that worked on the project, said, quote, "It's supposed to look like an abandoned bowling alley, so we basically built all the trussing up, the letters, the legs, and then covered it, the sign with like sheet metal. And the bowling alley owners said it was just like, there was like a little hometown like article written about it. They said they had the best experience. They were worried about, you know, obviously a production coming in and destroying kind of in a way. But they said it was like great. They didn't break anything.
Thank God.
Which was like a very like point in the article, that they kind of like left no trace when they left. So I'm glad that the whole production seemed very lovely, and this bowling alley I think still exists.
Had a good time.
Yeah, they had a good time. Love a bowling alley.
That's so cute.
So another important part of the film is like the creepy church that you were talking about that we see.
I wanted more of that. I feel like
I love a church.
I thought that we were going to have the climax scene be in the church.
It feels like, because it like starts there. I feel like all these like pivotal points like happen around this
like,
church. The green light in there once we get in there.
It's so good.
So this location was scouted. It was an abandoned church in Stratford, Ontario, and so they kind of had to temporarily make it up to look. And I'm like, I wonder if it still sits up there. And a fun little detail, I don't know if you noticed, in the glass, that green, it's grass.
It's grass.
It's grass.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
I loved that.
Yeah. It's I almost lived in Chicago in a converted church, but then one of my roommates pulled out, didn't want to do it, so we needed like 4 people.
How dare they?
I still have this like goal of wanting to live in an old church, because architecture.
In my dreams,
I'd probably burn upon walking in it, but you know,
or the church would burn.
You
walk in, it just bursts into flames.
Well, looks like it's not a fit for me.
Wasn't meant to be.
Thanks for the tour. Bye.
The real estate agent is just left with like a little like smoke coming
like,
off their hand.
Yeah.
Like,
What do I do? So speaking of the grass, we're gonna kind of step foot into the grass and get into those details. As we know, obviously most of this takes place in the grass, yes. In the tall grass, one might say. But what you might not know is most of it was real and was not CGI. I think there's very poignant camera movements where we know that that's a CGI. You can kind of tell, although I do think they did a fantastic job blending.
Yeah. The only shot that I remember looking at and being like, that's definitely CGI was the crow's eye, which like,
I understand. A lot of that stuff. I feel like with that suspension of belief stuff too, it's like, okay, they're kind of getting a little trippy and weird.
Yeah, it didn't take me out of it that much, you know.
Yeah, those super
I was
natural.
fine with it,
but I think for this too, God, animating a bunch of blades of grass sounds like a nightmare. But you know, someone loves doing it.
Is going to move through each of them in a different way.
I know they have to like move. I know, it sounds awful.
About that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So most of the filming took place in the actual grass in Ontario, and some parts took place on a soundstage that was transformed with the tall grass. And as you would expect, filming in that was not easy.
I can imagine.
For anybody.
It would probably, I mean, grass blades are sharp. I imagine it would cut you a lot.
Yep. So actor Rachel Wilson said, quote, "We filmed in a small town in Ontario, Canada, so the grass was grown there, and they transported the grass to the soundstage for the last part of the film for the night scenes. They took all the earth and the grass and the crickets with them." Which I just gotta know what that looks like to take, because you gotta scoop up enough earth.
Yeah. You've got to get a whole chunk of sod.
Yeah. So the grass that they originally wanted didn't grow fast enough apparently for them, so they used this other kind of grass which cuts because it actually has a serrated side to it. Which I don't know if you've ever run through a field of grass
it's so
before.
painful.
That shit like
it really
slice,
cut. Yeah. Like it can draw blood.
Yeah. So the actress who plays Becky said in an interview with Sci-Fi, quote, "In the studio, it's a little easier because they built the paths for us. But then we have this physically demanding aspect of being cold and in the mud and rolling around. What I will say is it helps with the emotional heightened state that we were in the movie. No acting required at that part. We truly were miserable. But when we get to see how it looks, it trumps everything." He warned him. He warned him. We also have a quote from Patrick Wilson. He also weighed in on this. He said, "I was only running through the grass a couple of days, but it's unrelenting. Avery, who plays Cal, he showed me some pictures. It's tough. This type of grass is serrated on one side, like I said. You're running through it, and at the end of the day, there's cuts all over. Being dirty and fighting, and I have no problem with that. The strangling without giving too much away was exhausting. I love that he's like, the grass is fine.
The strangling?
The strangling on the other hand.
Oh, Patrick Wilson, what a sweetheart.
Yeah. And then Harrison Gilbertson also said, like, the film, what you see in the film is what we experienced. Like, we got cut up. We had lacerations at the end of the day. The director did say, however, that although there is this desire in the horror community for that kind of like real physical makeup and like physical props and everything, he did think the CG that they had was amazing and it really served its purpose. So I like that
this was a great example of like using each of them to their best advantage.
Or like, what can you do practically that works for the story, and then what do you then need to add on?
It's on accented.
It's like the idea of like, we'll fix it in post. It's like, how about fix it now? And then if you
make
need
it even better.
Enhance
In post, not fix in post.
So again, like what you see on screen is exactly what it was like for them. The director goes on to say, on a very primal level, you feel vulnerable in this grass. Again, they kind of wanted to make this a character. And you can't see 2 feet in front of you. If there was a predator in there, you wouldn't know. And you wouldn't know till too late. And the grass itself, he actually wished he made more of it in this movie. And kind of goes on to talk about how the grass isn't this friendly organism, which I love that he calls it this organism.
I mean, it is. I think about that all the time with the aspens here in Santa Fe because they're all connected at the root. So it's technically like one big tree. And it's,
There's like such a little ecosystem happening beneath the surface.
It's like all a living being, and we're only seeing a tiny chunk of it.
Yeah. A little fun fact too. I know I gotta kind of wrap. I actually found more. I realized than I thought originally.
I mean, to be fair, I also slowed us down a lot by going on like a big rant about racist squid monsters. So.
Oh, that wasn't a big one. You've had bigger. You've had bigger rants. Let's be so fucking for real. But in 73 minutes in, you'll most noticeably hear. There's kind of these whispers of saying we are the grass. So, and then we obviously see those people. So,
I liked the grass people.
Me too.
I saw that and I was like, I feel like this is one of those things that probably critics hated, but it worked for me.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really get into critics. Fuck the critics.
Fuck the critics.
So I'm trying to think of where. I'm gonna dive into the ending at this point to wrap it up. So. I feel like, again, people really didn't like kind of where this went. I think you're right. Like the second half, it kind of turns into something different. It starts one way. It's definitely like a roller coaster of a ride. And it has a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. I think it has like a 36 on Rotten Tomatoes. And I also just think it was like such a sleeper. Again, on top of it, I feel like this came out right before COVID. And so I just feel like people weren't watching. I don't know. I think I watched it right after. Like it was one of my first COVID watches. Probably.
Makes sense. I feel like we were also all miserable at that time, and so maybe we were like judging a little more.
We were going out in the world at that time.
We weren't watching. We were all feeling claustrophobic. We didn't want claustrophobic horror. Maybe I don't know. There could be a lot of stuff going on there.
Claustrophobic horror. But yeah, I don't know if you were confused. I don't feel like it's a confusing story, but I feel like every time I did a little bit of a dive on this, people really had a problem understanding the ending too. Okay, no, we don't need to go over ending.
It made sense to me.
Okay.
I liked it.
What was the film that you thought it was supernatural, but it wasn't? What was that?
Oh my God, what was that?
Just check it in now. What did we cover? Not The Faculty. What did we do before?
Yeah, it was.
What? Isn't it funny we don't remember the movies that we've done? Anyways,
my brain feels like it's that of like a 96-year-old man right now.
I'm convinced that I have like
Alzheimer's.
A little. I don't know if it runs in my family.
Oh, it runs in mine.
Alzheimer's. Let's just talk about that for 2 seconds. Oh my God!
I can't remember
What's
any
the word when
words.
you like don't remember things? It's your brain. Oh my God. So I'm gonna end us on this quote from the director. I feel like you'll really like this. Again, this is a very long quote, but I feel like it's kind of a very inspiring quote as like a filmmaker, a fellow filmmaker. He said, "Let me put it this way. As an audience member and somebody who's grown up enjoying horror films, I like it when the genre's mutated, when it's pushed somewhere new." He says he's equally interested in recreations, though, as well, of things that he's seen before, and says David Cronenberg is a very important figure because what he did was so personal, so groundbreaking, and so impossible to imitate. Or Guillermo del Toro with his particularly kind of Latin magic realism. That's what I aspire to, regardless of what kind of horror it is. But regardless, limitations are inspiring. I'm cognizant of what, yep, I knew you were going to like that. I'm cognizant of when I'm making when I'm making and taking on these projects, that I think as a filmmaker, there's something exciting about it because it's this sort of symphony where you have the central theme, but you do variations. There's a certain excitement in watching those kinds of films to see how the filmmaker can keep spinning those plates and do new variations on the same idea. I feel like we never really hear, because I feel like we're coming in a time, which is a different rant that I'll get on, of all these kind of remakes and stuff, and instead of looking at it in that way, I like that he's like, how can I make this mine? How can I spin these plates in a different way and do? I realize it's because IP address that no one wants to venture into something that doesn't already have a built-in audience. The studios are being really lame about it. So that's a different tangent.
That's genius. I never put that together.
Yeah, they want something that has a existing IP. That's why we're only getting safe bet. Yeah, anyways, I thought that was really inspiring. I always like to hear clearly he's passionate for the genre, and I like that he doesn't feel like limitations limitate him and his art. So I thought that was a good yeah. And then two things. One, I want to ask how you liked it, and two, I have to play you this clip. I know that my hour is coming up.
No. While you're looking for it,
I'm so excited to play.
Loved the first half. I would rate like the first half of the movie like a 4. Like I thought it was really excellent up until. I'm curious. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it was when The Rock becomes more of a part of it that it kind of stopped working to me.
The Rock looks like the alien egg in the posters too,
and I think that's one of the areas where I don't know how much of The Rock was CG, how much was real. I don't know whether to say that it was that I didn't like the production design or didn't like what was done in post, but something about it just didn't quite land for me. And then
do you feel like it revealed too much?
It revealed too much.
I feel like that too. I think that's my main issue with it, is I wish I almost wanted to leave more confused.
Exactly, because I love the parts of it that worked the best for me were the time loop parts. Yeah, that
when they're jumping in the grass and they jump again, and then he's like, I would actually have passed out.
Oh my God, that
I would have not made it back.
Yeah. And when when she gets the call from herself at the I loved the ending. That that kind of like looping back in on itself. I love that,
like
kind
hearing
of stuff.
himself and being outside. Yeah, I do. I agree with you. I feel like there could have been less shown. I almost love films too. If they're gonna do that, I want that done in the last like one line.
Exactly.
The last line, you're like,
last couple seconds even, if I'm going to see The Rock. And honestly, as much as I loved Patrick Wilson, I felt like because the scariest parts of it are the sense of like this unknown lurking out in the field, it's almost like the second it becomes more about this real estate dude, it loses a little of the fear to me.
Yeah, it was definitely, he was like a kind of the like conduit for this message versus they could have had him be a little less talky.
I would have been fine just being scared of the grass, honestly. Like the sentient grass that eats all. I know. Fucking scary.
Do you think too, there's like speculation, but I don't know if it's so much speculation, that obviously he gets out, but and it kind of leaves on this like hopeful, like, oh, they all made it out, but it's like they didn't.
Did they?
But they didn't. I don't think they did. I think that's just gonna keep looping.
It felt very ominous to me that they choose to drive back the way they came. I feel like if it's
that kind of starting over again.
Yeah, like if they're getting out, I feel like they keep going down the road.
Because they would actually move forward.
See, I don't know. Just
personally. I love that.
Oh, good.
I love that take on that, because I'm like, oh, they're all fucked for eternity.
No, it's like the loop starts again. Yeah. They've got to feed the grass, man.
Yeah. Let me play you. Okay, let me play you my clip. Oh my God, it went like so far back. So I was watching it and I didn't realize this. Oh, because it didn't come out. I don't think it was like a TikTok thing at the time. Let me know if this sparks. I'm sorry, Warren. I'm playing an audio clip. Let me know if this sparks. So it's when Becky's screaming.
Becky! Get away from me! Get away from me! Sorry, pal. Too late.
Is that not giving?
Yeah, it's a good scream.
He's escaping! The killer is escaping!
Is that not giving Sarah Paulson in American Horror Story?
Oh my God,
I fucking died. I immediately paused and was like, it's giving.
So
She sounds exactly like Sarah Paulson.
funny. Oh my God.
And the internet hasn't shown me that, so
Queen.
I'm thinking it's an original
Oh my God,
idea.
I love it.
It's not, but yeah. So
well,
running
I'll
on,
cut the
clips.
TikTok and we're gonna find out.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I love that.
what would you rate?
I think at the end of the day, I would come in around a 3 or a 3.5.
Same. Yeah. I think it's a good one. I think it's worth a watch.
Very much
it
worth a
feels
watch.
refreshing to watch. Like you said, it kind of feels like an original idea, especially to break up, I think, some other. And
it's particularly for a Netflix horror film. It doesn't look like all of the other Netflix horror films out there, which tend to have a very samey visual palette.
Yeah. Different tone to this one too. So, and I just think it's the director. I think he really, it's his baby. You know, he took that source material, he turned it into his own. He got the okay, and he kind of just went for it. So yeah, I would say same. I think at 3.5 probably more.
I think absolutely worth a watch. I think you could edit a cut of this film that would take it up like a half point or a point.
Cut out some of the
some
information.
of the rock. Cut out some of the rock. Cut out some of the information.
Yeah. I'm glad you like that.
Yeah,
well,
I'm glad you brought it in.
Take a little break?
Let's take a little break and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Sienna. You've heard me talking horror here for almost a year now, and there's one horror movie that I keep on referencing that I finally get to share a little bit about, which is my own sophomore feature, Radon's Daughters. It's a dark folktale about two New Mexican families whose fates collide at a toxic Dia de los Muertos celebration in a uranium-tainted church. There's a lot of Guillermo del Toro in there. There's some Toby Hooper Southwest seasoning on the top. It's going to be the first New Mexican feature made with an all-female and non-binary creative team, and it is shooting this fall. That doesn't mean that there are going to be any breaks for you in the podcast. We're going to record around shooting, but it does mean that I need your help. To film this in the scrappy style of my horror heroes, we need at least $100K. And if you've been listening for a while, then you know that's a tiny budget for a feature. But the way we're going to get there is through your support. By the time you're hearing this, our crowdfunding campaign page at seedandspark.com/fund/Radon's should be live. If not, I'll post an update as soon as it is. Seed and Spark makes it go live on their end. And if every person who hears this pledges $25, then we will hit our green light in less than a month. And there are all sorts of rewards for supporting. Like if you make that $25 pledge to the campaign and send me your social handle, I will send you back the title of the classic horror film that fits your vibe. There are plenty of other rewards beyond my eternal gratitude and the chance to see one of your host's own horror films come to life. So go check out the page, share it, support as much as you can. Again, it's seedandspark.com/fund/Radon's to be a part of making my next horror film.
And we're back. This is our second time being back because
second time being back.
Yeah, I'm making you all aware again, part 2, that I almost choked on a donut while we stopped. And Sienna thinks it's funny.
I'll still almost
I can't breathe.
It's a pumpkin donut, which is why it's funny.
Yeah, it brought us pumpkin donuts.
Hoisted on your own pumpkin.
What? Hoisted?
It's fine.
Get to the film. Let me just sit in silence over here, choking on my pumpkin.
What I did to warn. That was a terrible joke. Moving on.
I didn't get it.
Quickly. Oh my god. I can't see.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Want some corny taglines?
I do. Okay. But I'm afraid if I laugh, I'm going to choke.
Good. Let's find out.
You'd be like, great.
One way to learn.
Comedy.
So the most popular one is the least funny, as is often the case. Most popular was An Adult Nightmare. Which
more like a child nightmare. Actually, my adult nightmare is all the children. So yeah.
Honestly, true. An adult nightmare. Children.
Yeah. Okay, fair. That's too true.
Second tagline, and a child shall lead them, which...
yeah, they write that on the wall.
They write that on the wall. It's literally the writing on the wall.
Yeah, the writing on the wall. I love that you're doing taglines.
Best/worst for last, though, which...
Oh, God.
This is such an out tagline.
No. That means it's going to be so bad.
In their world, adults are not allowed, ... to live.
It's so good. It's the giving, and you thought your teachers were weird. Oh, wow, that needs to be on a t-shirt.
In their world, adults are not allowed to live. Yeah.
Oh,
thought you'd like
wow. That one goes so hard. Oh, bless you for finding those.
I read that and I was like, Al went back in time and ghost wrote that.
Yeah, I think my soul, I don't know if everyone just, my soul left my body and then zapped right back in.
That might be the most genuine laugh I've ever gotten out of you on the podcast.
Yeah, because it's just so good. That's really the core of who I am, is that tagline.
Okay, so that was the peak of the episode. It's all downhill from here.
Well,
okay. So
the downhill is me choking to death probably on this, so.
The downhill is us going into the rose. So based on Stephen King's short story, also called Children of the Corn, which, we've got the fan on. I didn't even realize. God damn it. We're doing so well today.
No one can hear it. But I was like, why do I feel cool?
Yeah. Why am I comfortable?
Yeah, why am I comfortable and not actually
I'm supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the directorial debut of one Fritz Kirsch, who also did Tough Turf, Under the Boardwalk, and some of the Swamp Thing TV series. Very
all the hits.
Swamp Thing fan.
I didn't know they had a TV series on it.
Apparently they did. It was
Cool.
On in the 90s for a while. He
Oh,
directed
man,
a
that must
couple
have been
episodes.
great.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't up your alley, because it felt like the sort of thing that might have been an early Owl watch. But billed as Stephen King's Children of the Corn when this was released, so they had his name, which
interesting.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, because
there were troubles. There were troubles.
There were troubles afoot. Got it.
For one thing, they actually, the first time they did it, they spelled his name wrong, which is hilarious.
With a V?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which, like...
That's not author.
Right, it's Stephen King, the king of horror.
Stephen King.
However...
all those people working and not one person caught that. Honestly, goes to show.
Yeah,
When
makes
we
me
make
feel better about
spoilers,
us,
yeah,
right? But I did want to just like point that out because I do think it's interesting in the context of this was only 4 years after The Shining, which at that point, that was still like so early in Stephen King's career when The Shining was being made. That, like, look how far we've come in just those 4 years that already Stephen King's name comes before the title when it's being advertised.
I mean, yeah, he really hit.
I mean, The Shining had a lot to do with that, to be fair, but he really took off quite fast. Stars Peter Horton as Bert, who was also on 30-something. He was on Grey's Anatomy. He was in The Babysitter's Club. And a shout out for you, used to be married to Al fave Michelle Pfeiffer. The Fifes. So let a good one go.
God, I love her.
I know you do.
Love that woman.
The look that just crossed your eyes.
I'm just dreaming about her.
Also stars Linda Hamilton, obviously best known as Sarah Connor in Terminator, which I have to say, I still haven't seen. I'm so sorry. However, she was also in the 1980s adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, written by our very own Mr. Bossman, George R.R. Martin.
Oh my God. Yeah, we have like posters everywhere. My aunt also gave me for like Christmas, like a little like Beauty and the Beast referencing. Not to that one, but
that's so cute.
Yeah, it's definitely our... Oh yeah, we have a VHS.
Oh my God, look at that.
Oh my God, stop it, Warren's handing it. Vanna White. Does anyone know who Vanna White is anymore? They just retired that. I think they just retired that show. Anyways.
Fascinating. Anyway, yes, Beauty and the Beast. George was one of, I believe, 4 main writers who co-wrote this. We also have a second.
I gotta have him sign this. That's why I got it. I don't like care to have anything signed by him, but I feel like he would like love this.
I feel like he'd be like, how often does he get somebody asking for a VHS of Beauty and the Beast?
Where'd you get that? And I'd be like, save her. She's like, what's up?
Be like, as long as the popcorn still has real butter.
She looks like KP, who we work with.
She does look like KP.
Shout out KP. Kappa KP.
We love you, Kappa KP. Yeah. I'm sure this is really entertaining for all the people out there who have no idea who we're talking about. But
you're learning a little bit about us.
You're learning. We also have a second Beauty and the Beast connection, which is John Franklin as Isaac, who also is Cousin It in the 90s Addams Family movies.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, that's what.
And he's also he's in a little movie called The Tower of Terror with Kirsten Dunst.
I didn't have that one written down.
I love that movie.
Doesn't surprise me. He was also he voiced Walkabout Chucky in Child's Play, which I thought you would enjoy.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Also, I saw a lot of people saying that he's giving big Joffrey Baratheon energy throughout this from Game of Thrones, which I was like, that
I did just watch
sense.
House of the Dragon though, and I have become. I got a a-maize-ing shirt already.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Tracks.
Oh wait, look at my phone. There he is.
Oh my god.
And every other photo in my phone.
That 100%.
When I love a fictional character, I go hard, man.
Yeah, we love a bad boy.
Yeah.
Bad boy with an eye patch. That is the one with the eye patch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That would have been very
If not a
embarrassing.
mask, there's got to be some obstruction.
Some sort of a Phantom of the Opera-esque thing going on.
Tracks.
Anyway, John Franklin
Very
as
cool.
Isaac. He also guest starred in Beauty and the Beast. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
two
he's kind of
George crossovers, which I thought was kind of fun.
Came back.
Right? Also, R.G. Armstrong is Deal, who's in Predator, El Dorado, Dick Tracy, Quantum Leap,
Oh, wow.
the 90s Walker, Texas Ranger. We've got a lot of TV actors in this, basically. And then Courtney Gaines is Malachi, who we talked about. He's also in Back to the Future, and he shows up in Can't Buy Me Love, too. So there's some trickles of this cast throughout other movies, but I think a lot of them, obviously with the exception of Linda Hamilton, I think a lot of them, this is the movie that they're maybe most known for.
That's funny. Both of ours are kind of like that. Other than like the one kind of
one
star.
standout, yeah. And to be fair, Linda Hamilton signed on to this because of certain scenes that had to be cut for budget reasons, so she was like a little bit sad.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
But which we're going to talk about. Actually, I believe we're going to talk about right now. So, wait, are we? Yes, I'm going to jump ahead.
Okay.
So, we're going to talk
Good for
about the budget because this is where the Stephen King drama of it all comes to play.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So originally, I found a couple different budgets listed. It appears that the correct number is 800,000.
Okay.
So kind of tiny budget for the time period, for
There's a lot going on.
the fact that you're burning an entire field. There's like some
really bad
really
CGI.
really bad CGI. I mean, it is 1984.
Computer graphics.
Computer
I should say.
graphics in 1984.
It was giving Alex Mack.
Big time. Yeah. Like it is so it looks
I love it.
2D.
Yeah,
It's kind of satisfying in its own way. But so
That fits.
small budget it goes on to make 14.5 million worldwide. So it
Holy
does
fuck.
quite well. However,
Damn.
I was like, why was this such a small budget? Stephen King is doing really well at this point. They're billing his name, which I'm sure they charged extra for advertising. Oh, they did.
Yeah.
And then I found out why. So original production budget was going to be 1.3 million, which is a much more reasonable number for a film like this. Still low, but then at the very last minute, Stephen King demands another 500K. And he's like, unless you give me $500,000 more dollars, you cannot advertise this as Stephen King's Children of the Corn. We're going to talk about one of the reasons why this may have happened, because there was some writer's room saltiness going on behind the scenes that we're going to get into. However, because this budget's reduced very last minute to 800K after they've already
they're like most of their budget to you.
That's like almost cut in half, and they're like about to start filming, so they have to cut a shit ton of stuff last minute. However, later when King opens up about the fact that he'd been struggling with addiction during this time, the director's like, did he just need more drug money?
Oh no. Yeah.
Which and like, I don't say that to make fun of Stephen King, because again,
No, but
I
it
fucking
tracks.
love him.
Well, again, talking about the, now
he's so
for $1 and he's so
generous and open-hearted, and
he
it's
must
so,
have been going through stuff to ask for. I mean, $500,000.
And like, you hear stories about Stephen King now, and it's like that's very out of character for him.
I was gonna say too, it doesn't fit within that, but it fits within that context.
Yeah, within the context of this is somebody who's going through a crisis at the time. So like, I look back on it, and as much as it, I'm sure, drove the production crazy, I feel a lot of empathy for Stephen King also, because he,
he struggled with addiction.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Shining. There's got to be something going.
There's a lot of jokes about the fact that he was only able to write as many books as he did in the 80s because he was doing that much cocaine. But the whole other story.
Yeah, wow.
It's a different podcast between two queers.
Yeah.
But anyway, so because of that, now we can jump back, get into the writing, because this is, again, based on a short story. I read part of it. I didn't have time to finish it. Unfortunately, I wanted to.
Good for you.
But first published in the March 1977 issue of Penthouse, which, I now need to try and find on eBay.
My God.
Imagine
it's probably
what...
so expensive.
The one that has the original Children of the Corn in it, that's got to be like $1,000. I can't buy it on eBay, but I want to find it on eBay.
Yeah, I just know it exists.
Just know it exists. Then, cool. Which also I wrote down, like, imagine you're reading Penthouse for the purposes that one reads Penthouse for, and you end up reading Children of the Corn.
Well,
like,
that's, honestly, though, that's, like, kind of how Playboy was, too.
That's
true. If you look back, like, they had really cool articles, like, as much as there was,
really great writers working for them.
So it is kind of, like, they were really well-written works, but that's...
But at the same time...
Also, like, a horror... thing. That's so interesting. I wonder if it was the Halloween edition.
No, it was March.
Oh, fuck yeah, you said that. Oh, well, again, cornfields, that makes sense, actually.
I guess.
Yeah, that's
the
so
start
funny.
Of planting season, but yeah, just imagine.
It's a startling contrast.
Yeah, you're like, I'm looking for something spicy, and you end up in this story about religious children murdering everybody, and
just to cleanse the old palate,
a palate cleanser. In between centerfolds.
Yeah. That's what you gotta do. You don't
between
do that?
two centerfolds. Sorry, guys. So then it gets published in the collection Night Shift, which is a Stephen King short story collection, which also appears as a prop on Vicky and Bert's dashboard in the opening scenes of the movie when they're in the car. So little shout out, which I also wanted to note. The book on the ground in yours is Jane Eyre, which I thought was interesting because that's also...
This movie was so dark too. That part wasn't dark, but I feel like I missed a lot of... I didn't realize it was Jane Eyre.
Yeah, which is very like... I mean, I think in The Tall Grass, there's a lot of like gothic elements, so it makes sense that it would be this gothic novel. But anyway, just while we're talking novels, had to throw that out.
I'm glad you had that too, but on my film.
That's what I'm here for.
Stop it.
Connections to the Stephen King extended universe. The town of Gatlin gets mentioned in it, and the nearby town of Hemmingsford, which is like where they're trying to get to, is a setting in both The Stand and 1922. So this part of Nebraska is an area that a lot of Stephen King's stories either take place or reference.
Yeah, he loves like a rural
setting. We talked about that with Misery and The Shining too, where those two take place in the same Colorado, right? Yep. Yeah. So
watch Secret Window too, not that long, like 2 weeks ago too, and that's
Secret Window. So good.
Corn. Lots of corn in that one too.
Oh, we're gonna talk corn now. Don't worry. We have
the man loves his corn.
We have a corn flavored rant corn.
Flavored
or rant corner, if you will.
Corn flavored corn. Oh my God, Sienna was left speechless on that one. I never heard you be so quiet. Now you know how it feels when I say shit like that. I do it every episode. You took it from me.
Okay, I need to go like
me almost choking to death.
Now.
Maybe I reset the timeline and we've just switched universes. Truly. I actually died.
Oh my God. If only I'd died before I said that. Can't go back.
You're gonna die now. Okay, so corn flavored corn.
No, stop. Don't bring it back. Let it die.
It's on a loop, baby.
Let the fields eat
it's on a loop.
No. Okay, so oh my God, I'm so hot. The short story ends a little bit differently. In the short story, Vicky gets killed by the kids.
See? Do you see how hard it is to move on? Do you see?
Stop it!
Everyone, Sienna knows now. No! I've had to deal with every episode.
Oh my God.
But this is our 25th episode, too.
It's true.
It's your turn for the next 25 tears. Yeah. I don't know. Is that sweat or tears?
A little column A, a little column B. Is there blood? We don't know.
Okay, I will allow you to move on now.
Okay.
I had to live in that moment for a second.
Focus, Sienna, focus. So, Vicky originally gets killed by the kids. Bert gets killed by he who walks behind the rose. So nobody makes it. None of the adults make it out alive of the short story. King himself wrote the first draft of the screenplay. This is why we think that there may be a little bit of saltiness afterwards, in addition to perhaps needing money for substances. His version focused more on the history leading up to the children's takeover, kind of the build up to their massacre.
Oh, okay.
And on the characters of Bert and Vicky. So it actually, apparently, if you believe George Goldsmith, who goes on to write the version that we see and gets screen credit, says that his version was gorier than King's, which I think is funny. But also, according to Goldsmith, King's version started with 35 pages of just car dialogue, which is like...
The man loves his cars.
He loves a car? Yeah, see? King and his cars.
He's got a car fetish.
Again, Cronenberg's Crash. It's coming. One of these days.
Yeah.
I'll make it happen. Job and Sarah, the two kids, are also additions for the new script from Goldsmith, who kind of felt like, not all of the kids would have gone along willingly, which is what happens in the short story.
Yeah.
Which, again...
I think it offers a nice perspective. And they feel like a nice narration to follow throughout.
I think it's a strong narrative choice because we do need something of like an inside eye in the situation.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have that otherwise.
Yeah.
And basically the idea of Sarah having psychic abilities is just a way to explain why she wasn't immediately killed. It's just a plot MacGuffin, which is why it never ends up really being
I know.
important.
I always forget that it doesn't really wrap itself right back around.
Yeah. Which, like, again, there's a lot about this film that doesn't really work, and yet I still find it scary. And I have to say...
Children are scary.
Children are scary. To be fair, I also...
Oh, no.
I will say I watched this for the first time in high school with my best friend. Very, very stoned. One of like the first times I ever smoked weed.
Yeah.
And ended up thinking that they were actually like that murderous children were gonna like break in through the windows and like kill us. So like even watching this back now, I was like,
they're gonna get me.
Murderous children are gonna break in through the window and kill us.
I don't find it scary at all.
Oh, interesting. I find it very atmospheric. Let's real quick. Did you like this movie, Al? Tell us how you really feel.
I do not like this movie.
Oh,
it's my second time watching it. I know. It kind of feels very like The Strangers for me, where it's like I just felt bored.
Interesting. Which, like, to be fair, most of the critics are with you.
Oh,
that's
wow, we agree.
We'll
I
get to
agree
that.
with them for once.
Yeah. You're gonna love Ebert's quote.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna really like it.
Yeah.
Second time watching it doesn't do it for me. I like the second half, kind of in reverse. I like the second half of this, like more towards the end, better.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think I just don't care for anybody in it.
Yeah.
I kind of want the kids to just burn everybody.
True.
Well, I want shit to go off the rails.
This is one of Linda Hamilton's complaints about it, is she felt like her character, like both of the adult characters, keep making dumb decisions.
Yeah, Goosebumps dad decisions.
Yeah, that's big Goosebumps dad energy.
So yeah, I have feelings. Like actively, I don't like this film.
Maybe it's the Nebraska corn farmer in my DNA. There's something
Well,
about
like
Isaac that I find
it feels
terrifying.
Yeah, and I don't know what I can't like put my finger on it. It just feels very boring to me. I
Are you gonna say you like these boring horror films?
Here's the thing: I love like a slow story. We don't have to spend too much time on me.
I love this.
And like this one's like people talk about Children of the Corn. Like it's definitely
the Stephen King adaptation that has spawned the most sequels.
Oh,
which
really?
is shocking. Like,
yeah, because I was gonna say I can't remember. I feel like I've seen one of the other sequels.
There's 11, Al.
Holy
There's
fuck.
11.
I didn't know there were 11.
This is why I texted you last night and said there were 11 whole cobs.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about there's 11 corns. And
you asked me.
I'm not gonna lie. I had a couple
corn.
glasses of wine last night to make this film more interesting, and it didn't work.
Brutal.
I tried to make notes for it too, and I literally don't even think I wrote anything of interest.
Okay, how many corn cobs would you rate it?
A kernel. An unpopped kernel. And then all I wrote was I'm not a child of the corn, but I was a child who loves corn. And then my other note after that was Stephen King loves some sentient plants, eh? That is all I wrote.
That's so funny.
That's all I got
I will say it very much because I haven't seen this since I watched it stoned in high school.
Yeah.
I
imagine stoned is way more fun. Wine was not the trick.
So you needed some sentient plants.
Yeah.
That's what you were missing. But I think that I didn't realize at the time, but did realize now, that this feels very much like it's Giallo influenced. Like, even from the opening credits with the children's drawings to the way the music hits at the moment.
The music.
It's very Goblin, right? The way that it's like, we'll see a blood splatter across a suitcase, and then the organ music kicks in. It's like da 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 da.
Okay, looking at it that way in a Giallo lens, because now I know that I liked at least the 2 that we watched. I can give it credit for that.
I think it's
I feel
less
like it could have
effective than Giallo movies.
Yeah,
but it's
should have leaned that way. I think
it
I would have been a little bit more
should have
on
leaned
board.
that way as well. I think, again, to me, where this falls apart is at the end when it becomes like, and we're going to teach the children about Jesus, and then we're going to rescue everybody by burning the cornfield.
I know. I think, although that was kind of sick looking,
it was cool to watch.
Yeah, I don't know. Not for me.
Not for you.
That's okay.
One kernel.
Yeah.
Understood.
A kernel. How many cobs did you give it? We can get to the cobs at the end.
There are cobs on the way. There are plenty of cobs to come.
I'm intrigued by learning about it.
There's some good behind the scenes.
This always makes
story.
me like the films more.
Sometimes I feel like it can make you like the films less, but depending on the story. But King and Goldsmith apparently had a lot of arguments about how the story should be adapted, and Goldsmith accused King of not understanding how to do an adaptation for film, and King accused Goldsmith of not understanding the horror genre, and they were just like both going at each other, which again, this sounds kind of out of character for King. I feel like he was going through it.
He was going through it. Yeah. Oh man, that's wild.
Which is also, it's sweet though, because now, since that time, Goldsmith has said that King has actually been very diplomatic publicly about the ways that Goldsmith knew King was disappointed in the adaptation. So it's like they argued with each other. But even with that, he was kinder to him publicly than he was to Kubrick, which I think tells you Kubrick was a dick to him.
Yeah.
Like, so just to, again, gotta defend King a little bit. I think he's really done a 180 on his handling of these kind of situations. So producer Hal Roach sold the project to New World Pictures, who are the ones who distribute it, and they hilariously tried to use Goldsmith's script but King's name, which obviously nobody was happy with. Oh my god,
everybody fucking stop it. The whole conception of this is such a shit show.
It was so much needless drama over corn, guys. Just have a cob and calm down. So, themes, approach, and history. I found this really interesting interview with Goldsmith, who waited until after the release, proved the film to be financially successful before coming out and saying what he thought the story was really about.
Of course.
But it was fascinating and something that I never would have picked up on as a child of the time that I grew up in.
Child of the corn.
As a child of the corn.
You were going to say.
I mean, kind of, yes. Again, should have brought my stocks in today. So, this comes from the book It Came from the 80s, interviews with 124 cult filmmakers.
Yeah.
And he explains that he meant the whole script as an analog for the Iranian Revolution, with religious zealotry under the eyes of this kind of Ayatollah Khomeini-inspired leader creating mass violence.
Back up. What's that word? The
Ayatollah Khomeini?
Yeah, what's that?
It's the religious leader who took over Iran during the Iranian Revolution and kind of created this
unfamiliar,
very restrictive religious government system.
Got it.
So, which is why there's this analog going on there. Yep.
Religion being constructed into
right. It's the more things change, the more they stay the same. And he even kind of specifically viewed the 2 adult captives as metaphors for American hostages, which were like big in the news at the time this was being made.
Yeah.
So it's like something that, from the perspective of this moment in time, we might not be thinking about that context watching it back. But it's like, again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's very clearly an analog for religious political zealotry.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So just thought that was interesting. Also, do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Mm-mm.
God damn it.
We watch very different things again.
If you want to learn about the Iranian Revolution, watch the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where the Larry David character is making a musical called Fatwa the Musical.
Oh my God,
That's the best way to get that history.
Funny.
Anyway,
Good
continuing.
to know.
Yeah. So shoots primarily in Iowa, so not actually in Nebraska, but close by. There's a little bit of California work, not a ton. All of the towns they shoot in range in size from 300 or so to 5,000 at the biggest, which is
so tiny.
Tiny, literally the size of the town that my dad was born in, Deschler, Nebraska. So very, and my dad like grew up in a town with like a lot of like holy rollers and stuff like that. So like this.
I can't even like
this.
I know.
I like almost texted him and was like, "Was Children of the Corn your childhood?" And then I was like, "This
he's
is
probably
going
like
to
a little bit,
him."
yeah.
So
God. I can't imagine. It feels like a different when you get to really rural areas, especially like I mean, even still today, like especially still today, now it feels like, it just feels like you're in a different universe.
It really does.
It freaks me out. I do not like rural towns.
I mean, I live in one. To be fair, Chimayo is like 2,000 people, but
we're still like
it's
very
very
progressive.
different.
Yeah.
It's like it's a different
Santa
flavor of
Fe.
rural
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Different, very different cultural history and context. But anyway, so the towns that they're shooting in are very much like the towns that it takes place in, basically. And
Surprised they let them.
Right? That's kind of interesting. I don't know that Deschler would have, to be fair, but so let's talk plants. Because shooting with plants is difficult for continuity at the best of times.
They never know when to yell action, when to yell cut.
I know. There's terrible performers. God damn it, Al.
They give nothing on the screen.
But I mean, corn especially. As somebody who farms corn, it like usually in the height of summer grows about an inch a day. So yeah, no, you can literally, if you stand in a cornfield, you can hear the sound of it growing around you. It grows that fast.
Oh my God.
Isn't that cool?
So
Come out to my property one time, bitch.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't have enough corn for you to hear it, but yeah. Just ear down to the dirt.
Probably.
Letting it whisper its secrets.
Yeah. Can never see me again.
Yeah, there you go. But so because of that, you're gonna have trouble if you're trying to shoot with actual corn in the time that corn is growing.
Because it's just the continuity of it all.
Because it's going to be constantly changing height all the time. And because this is the 80s when shoots took a lot longer, by the time that they're finishing up the shoot, all of the corn has long ago died, is rotting, and they're having to spray paint it green and prop it up with sticks.
Ew.
So fun, right? Let's see. Oh my God, there's so many tidbits for this one.
Yeah. This seems like a tidbit heavy one just because it's so like known.
It's very known. Ooh, I love this one. So you know the scene where Vicky has fallen asleep in the car. They've just hit Joseph and she dreams that he like rises up.
I took pictures of that because the still of him standing is really spooky.
My
He got baby
God.
gauged. That sucks.
What was that?
He got baby gauged.
True.
Yeah, look how he's standing. Isn't that creepy? That creeps me out. And then look at his little face. Look at his dumb little face. The wine got to me. That was one of my favorite parts. Was him getting run over.
God, I would have loved to have witnessed this watch happening.
The things I found interesting.
I was just like, look at that kid's dumb little face.
Yeah, look at his stupid little face. It'd be like 40 rewinds to get that shot.
So that to me,
I liked that scene.
the one scene I liked. For that scene, Linda was told that it was too hot for a child to be lying under a blanket in the middle of the road, and that they were going to use a mannequin. So she didn't know that there was an actual actor under there. And when he popped out to surprise her, her reaction's totally real. That's like an actual Linda Hamilton scream. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which
fuck! I wish it would have.
Yeah.
God, that would have terrified.
Oh my God, no! I would have been.
Don't tell me there's not a
so
child on
angry.
set. No, there's a child on set.
Truly, don't surprise me with a child.
Don't horrify me like that.
Again, an adult nightmare.
They really nailed it with that one.
They did.
That's a good merge too. Adult nightmare. Living in an adult nightmare.
Ooh, oh my God, loved this also. So you may ask yourself.
I did. In fact.
You may ask yourself, Al, how did they film the oh my God.
I can't think of it for whatever reason. The question left my head.
No thoughts, just vibes. No thoughts, just chemicals. It's a callback to a.
I want you to ask the question.
I'm so sorry.
Sienna!
It's really hot in here, you guys.
What's the question? What am I asking myself?
You may ask yourself.
I am. I'm continuously
How did
asking.
they shoot He Who Walks Behind the Rose? How did they do that special
that's
effect?
actually what I asked the entire time.
Because it is a practical effect.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
a
cool.
cool story, too. A cool story and a cute... There's like
Oh.
a cute little bow on it. So SFX coordinator Wayne Beauchamp
I love that
said-
you got some SFX info.
right, said that to make He Who Walks Behind the Rose, he created something which he adorably nicknamed the turtle.
Okay.
So to make the turtle, you take an upside down wheelbarrow,
Okay.
you add wheels to the rim, then you run that along a track being pulled by a pulley attached to a tractor with a tarp on top of that with dirt piled on top of the tarp so that it looks with like this trench dug underneath
Right,
so that it looks
Wow.
like there's something moving under actual earth. And
I feel like I could have. Okay.
it seems like there's a simpler way to do this,
Yeah.
right? However, just because of how adorable this is,
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it this way. The trench
Yeah.
was dug by a local Boy Scout troop that volunteered because they wanted to learn about movie special effects.
It's like, here, dig, kids.
Dig this trench.
This is
for
a pot of
us.
holes. This is their punishment.
This is what it's based on.
Did they get a patch with him on it? Is my question.
If
Did
only.
Boy Scouts get patches for achieving things? I assume so. Girl Scouts did. Brownies?
Do Boy Scouts get
Did Boy
patches?
Scouts get
Boy Scouts
They
get
do.
patches.
Good for them.
Oh, look at that.
I hope they got a little upside down
A corn
weird barrel.
patch.
Oh yeah, or corn. That would have made more sense. That's actually, I love that.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so wholesome.
That's well, not that part. I don't care about the kids. I thought the wheelbarrow was cool.
I was like,
I'm
fuck the
sorry.
kids, give me the turtle.
I am wildly unhinged. I feel like I'm like throwing you off. Yeah, the Boy
I'm
Scouts.
throwing myself
but
off, Al.
I like
Don't
how they just
worry.
made them
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
They better have gotten a patch, otherwise it's free child labor.
I'm also like, filming ideas?
Do you need trenches?
Yes.
Hire the local Boy Scouts. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, it reminded me of Tremors. I like how both of us had this like under earth. Both these films had that. Spooky.
Now we get to the budget cutting corner.
Ooh, yeah.
Because again,
They had to
Stephen
pay
King,
for
last
his
minute,
drugs.
$500K
Yeah.
gets taken away.
How much cocaine could you buy?
That's what I
for
was thinking.
$500,000?
I was like, that takes a lot of cocaine, and then it was like,
It's
okay, to
only
be
so
fair,
high level. You know what I mean? Like cocaine's cocaine. Like as long as it's not laced with something that's gonna kill you, it's still bad.
But to be fair, if anybody could do $500,000 worth of cocaine,
How do you
it's
think we
Stephen
got
King
all,
in the 80s.
yeah, again, how do you think we got all those books?
Yes. I think he would be the first to
Oh
say
my
the same
God.
thing, which is the only reason I make that joke. But
yeah. Glad he's doing good.
glad
now.
he's doing better. Yeah. So, doing better, writing books with his son.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
Cute
wholesome
ending.
now.
But so first thing that gets cut when Isaac comes back for revenge, who was supposed to be this like mostly skeletonized corpse monster, which they couldn't do, and he was supposed to like drag Malachai back into the corn.
Oh, that would have been so
Would have been
cool.
so good. And Malachai actually, that actor said that this was like the one thing he was disappointed in was because his character
Oh, he was
is
really
so iconic, and then his head just gets like his neck just gets snapped real quick,
Yeah.
and it was like there was supposed to be this very dramatic death that they just ran out of
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, I would have been a little bummed too.
yeah.
Understandable.
And to be fair, the makeup when he does come back and is like, "They want you too, Malachai," is
Yeah.
like really bad. Like it's not. They didn't do a
Yeah.
great job.
This feels very of the time, I gotta say.
It is very of the time. Also, Rachel, the psychic girl, was originally supposed to be mute and have her lines delivered by a mysterious hooded figure who would follow her around all the time. And they were like, "We don't have money for 2 actors. We're gonna combine that into one character."
That could have just been anybody.
Which, yeah, that's I've got a lot of questions about
her being
that.
mute kind of would have added something
It would have
interesting.
been real. I'm very interested in what it would have looked like to have just like a mysterious hooded figure behind her at all times.
Yeah,
and-
that would have been weird.
Yeah.
Did everyone know it existed? That person? Or
I
was it
don't
like her
know.
like little demon?
I have no idea.
That could have been interesting.
It could
That would have
really
been
interesting.
so much.
It would have been
just going on.
yeah.
though.
Yeah, it would have been a different movie, I
Yeah,
feel like.
yeah.
Could have been good, but another oh my gosh, my notes just jumped right back up to the top again.
I was gonna say that would have been Also, if we did that, it would have kind of led us into the supernatural so early on, in the same way where, like, in the tall grass, it was too much. I think that probably would have been an element. Like, I like
agree.
that everything kind of doesn't come to a head till the end.
Yeah, it builds to it instead.
Yeah.
Also, originally in the short story, He Who Walks Behind the Rose is this like giant green monster with glowing red eyes, which they mostly kept off screen in a very like cat people style budgetary cut choice, being like, we don't have the money to show that. So, however, the thing that Linda Hamilton really wanted to see happen that she signed on for that then got cut.
Wrecked.
No, it was that originally when He Who Walks Behind the Rose gets killed, there was going to be this image where all of a sudden all of the cornrows rot and turn black. And she was like, that's just like such a captivating image that I signed on to the project for that and then we didn't do it. And like, I would be bummed too.
Yeah, the one thing that you really want to see. It's like,
exactly.
That's why I don't like... You gotta let it go.
You
The filmmaking process, don't hold on to anything ever.
The movie
Creative
you
process.
make is never going to be the same as the movie you thought you were going to make.
Yeah.
And that's okay. However, I thought like just as like a filmmaker level type of thing, I loved this little cut they made when Deal, the gas station guy, when his dog goes missing, he was originally supposed to open the car and find the dog's bloody head in there. Ran out of money for that special effect, so they
Scarface?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they just put in wait, it's not. Is that Scarface? Isn't it
The horse head in the bed?
No.
What's that?
That's fucking Godfather.
I haven't seen either, so...
People are gonna hate that.
Good. You know what? Fight me on it. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my
They
feelings.
are kind of the same movie, though, to be fair. I will stand by you on that.
I have no problem.
They're both
Those
good,
aren't
but
made
they're the
for
same
me.
movie.
They're not made for me. But yeah, the horse head in the bed.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of the... Yeah. It was one,
It's the same
it was one of
movie.
those two fucking movies.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
If you've seen one, you've seen them all. But when the dog goes missing, supposed to find the bloody head, instead they just do the bloody bandana. And I was like, that's what you gotta do as a filmmaker. It's just as effective.
You get the point across. Like that moment in that story is understood. So yeah.
And like that's
because that would have been expensive. Doing like heads, doing
a
monster,
fake dog head,
changing a field of corn to whether it's like the post or if it's like they
practical
spray
rotted
painted
corn.
it,
Yes. Take the spray paint off and just show the actual corn.
Hose it down.
Yeah. So, moving into reception, this is probably one of the more critically panned films that I've covered. It's got a 39% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 40% audience score, which is usually they aren't that close. Yeah. So, critics and audience almost entirely in agreement
both of these
on this
really
film.
didn't get a great, because I think that was In the Tall Grass too. Got
it was like 30 something. He said. So, honestly, I was kind of surprised to see that because, again, I think it's gone on to be such a cult horror staple. Like everybody knows.
Everyone
Children
knows
of
of
the
it.
Corn. It's like very a part of the consciousness.
Yeah.
But I normally don't write down Rotten Tomatoes consensus descriptions because I don't find them that interesting. But this one I thought was like a little bit cheeky, so I did write it down. It said, "Children of the Corn's strong premise and beginning gets shucked away for a kiddie thriller that runs in circles," which I thought you would agree with. Yeah.
I swear that wasn't me. What was that?
And then I literally have written down, Ebert gave it this cunty catty 1-star review that I think you're gonna love. I read the whole thing, which a lot of the time I'll just skim reviews to pick up.
Yeah,
But it
like
was
one line.
so funny. He hated this movie.
Wow. He doesn't give many ones.
He doesn't give many ones. The final line of it, he says, "By the end of Children of the Corn, the only thing moving behind the rows is the audience fleeing to the exits."
Same. If I was in the audience, I would have been out of there. Take my popcorn and fuck off.
Starting to get reappreciated. In 2019, Rolling Stone put it at number 7 on a ranking of the top 30 Stephen King.
Okay.
And I
not horror.
Not horror across the board, but Stephen King adaptations.
King.
And I was like, what came ahead of it? Afterwards, you get Shawshank Redemption, The Shining, Stand By Me, The Dead Zone, Misery, and Carrie in the top spot.
I mean,
which I thought, for the most part, I more or less agree
I feel like
with.
those are all like pop culture.
And 2 of those aren't even horror movies. So that tells you how much affection has grown for it, that in the top 10 Stephen King movies, it sits at number 7, and there's 2 that aren't horror ahead of it.
Interesting.
And there's not really one single complaint that kind of all reviewers shared. It was everybody found something different wrong with it, which I kind of like. Some people didn't like the gore and thought it was too gory. Some people didn't like the child actors speaking in dialect, essentially. Some people thought it looked cheap.
Yeah.
And I kind of wrote down what that tells me is like this just... It's a very specific flavor, and it's not up everybody's alley.
Yeah, yeah.
More so than that, I think it's like...
Well, that's why it's so culty in that way, I think.
It's, I mean, again, it's very campy. It's
super campy.
And I think...
Just in a way that, I don't know, I almost wanted it to go, like, harder into the camp.
Yeah, I think it's at its best when it leans into it.
Yeah, like the end, I was like, okay. Yeah, but now I know why it's only my second time seeing it, so...
And again, Stephen King adaptation with the most sequels. So there's 8 original entries, and I wrote down my 2 favorite titles out of those are Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, and Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror.
Oh my god, yeah. They give again, I keep just referencing Goosebumps, but they give that.
They give Goosebumps or band name. Which
I wonder if the mic's picking up on my stomach growling. I'm hungry. After almost choking on my donut.
I was gonna say the donut didn't do the trick.
Took
really
a lot
did
of
you dirty.
I burned a lot of calories in that one.
Oh my god. Let's see. So there is actually a band named after Children of the Corn. Which
Corn?
I thought was cute.
Imagine.
Children of the K-O-R-N.
I'm going to see them in October.
God damn it. Of course you are.
Yeah.
There was a Harlem rap group from 93 to 97 called Children of the Corn. There's also a...
Can they get away with that?
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Me either.
There's also a song by the thrash metal band Testament called Disciples of the Watch that was inspired by this movie. And just shouting this out for anybody who is on the lookout for films that feel like they're in a similar vein that are maybe a little less well known. I always go to the Wikipedia page for the films we cover, just mainly because I'll go straight down to the bottom and look at the citations for it, and then go to the citations. Yeah. And one of the things I saw was like there's that section at the bottom that's like related pages. One of the ones that was listed on there was this Spanish horror movie from 1976 called Who Can Kill a Child?
Anybody, if you're willing.
If you try hard enough. Not with that attitude, you can't. So it's about an island ruled by bloodthirsty children. Like this Spanish island, these 2 English tourists, 2 English adult tourists come to it. I watched the trailer. It looks creepy as hell.
Really?
Looks very fun. I went and checked the Letterboxd page, and actually a lot of the people who follow the podcast have seen it and liked it. So it was like, I'm gonna, even though I haven't seen it myself yet, I feel like there's enough in its favor as like could be up your alley if you like this episode to give it a little shout out. So
it's so funny. I almost came with films to watch.
References? I love that.
That's so weird.
If you watch like this, I love that. Quick little film theory rant corner. So watching both of these films, I was kind of, again, I found both of them scary, and for similar reasons, but I was left with this feeling of like there's something, again, kind of like bubbling under the surface that's nagging at me that I'm not quite articulating to myself yet, that's not quite landing for me. And what is it?
Right.
And I think I figured out what it is. Or at least one of the things.
Yeah. I'm so curious.
So, and I think this is something that I actually talked about a little bit on the Shining episode, because this is a big through line for Stephen King, which is how Stephen King writes about Indigenous people.
We did talk. Yeah.
Because I feel like corn as Indigenous presence is so
just land, like
United
States land,
and particularly, I mean, Indigenous presence is such a common theme underlying a lot of Stephen King stories, from, the native-themed decoration that we see in the Overlook Hotel to, both the OG Shining and Pet Sematary. The story behind them is that it's quote-unquote set on Indian burial ground, and that's why it's haunted. And so there's, I think this kind of recurring anxiety that pops up in Stephen King's work of the idea of living on stolen land that has this bloody history that's bubbling up and kind of breaking out. And exploding into violence in the present
Right.
that I think is really interesting and powerful. And here it's so clearly the corn, like breaking through Christianity. You know, you see those like corn Jesus images where it's like the church images and they've just like put corn on it. And it's like that
The little
is
crucifix corn.
the corn crucifixes,
Yeah.
the corn crosses.
Yeah.
It's like such a, I mean, corn is something that we only have because indigenous people cultivated it.
Yeah.
It's not only from America, the original form of corn would not exist if it weren't for like millennia of generations of indigenous folks in Mexico cultivating it to be the amazing food crop that it is. It's also like corn is so tied in our pop culture imagination to Thanksgiving, which is like the only time of year that America like publicly acknowledges indigenous people's existence.
Right.
Like,
and in like
all.
a misrepresented way.
In the worst
wildly.
possible way. Yeah. So it's like anytime you're bringing up that imagery, that is
It
there.
is direct. Yeah.
And I think
Absolutely.
it's particularly, whether there are indigenous people on screen or not, that remains true. And I actually think the fact that we are seeing this like incredibly lily white Nebraska town where you go into the church and all of a sudden everybody's doing a blood sacrifice in a corn bowl, like that's very much like white settler idea of what like Aztec sacrifice could look like is the vibe that's giving, you know, that's the imagery that's getting tapped into.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And so to me, it feels like so much of what haunts so many king stories, and I'm not saying this is a value judgment, just as like an observation, is this like fear and guilt around being on indigenous land and around the sense of like there is an inherent injustice in that, and that is gonna come back and bite me sometime. And yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say, and maybe you're getting to this, is your issue with it that he touches on it, but it's surface?
It's like he doesn't gets
really
brought up and then it never gets concluded. Right. There's no.
Which, if he created a film that like it actually addressed it, do you feel like that would kind of solve this of like, okay, this is a theme that he's actively, because it really wouldn't, or do you feel like, I'm just curious.
It would. I would be interested to see one like that. I think in the context of Children of the Corn, which is like not explicitly a narrative about indigenous people, right? And I'm not saying that it needs to be, but it's like I feel like if there is that metaphor, there needs to be a point that it's getting to at the end, like a thesis about if we've got this fear, what does that say about the ending? Like the burning of this field, the idea that like
erasure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like I wonder if that's part of why it didn't totally sit with me, is that this film and In the Tall Grass, you know, it talks about like, is the stone native? And they're like, it's older than that, which is like very much a Lovecraftian trope of like things being older than indigenous people and therefore aliens, which is like this whole wormhole spiral. Yeah, you pop in one area and pop right back out in the same race spot you started. But anyway, all of which is just to say, I feel like there is this way in which it's like the idea gets brought up and then it's like this metaphorical, symbolic Chekhov's gun that never gets fired. It's like you're bringing up this indigenous metaphor and there's no payoff for it.
I wonder if it's like so subconscious.
Yeah,
I think, like,
he might not even be aware of it.
As a white, like, there is the like wanting to like pay like reparations for this like cruelty of our ancestors, this awful past, but then like being still racist enough that you can't address it full on. You know what I mean?
That you
like,
can't totally face it, which is I think the thing that I ended up feeling like was it's like both of these films feel like they build up to the precipice of something and then don't quite go over. And I was like, what is the thing that they're not going over the precipice of?
Right. Yeah. What's the tone that they didn't touch? Yeah. I can see that for sure. I mean, you can't have stories about land in this country without inherently that just exists.
That's under the surface of all of them.
So I love that. Yeah, it's a good point to bring up. I'm so curious to see if there's like interviews of him anywhere that talk about this. God, if anyone knows, please.
I know, because I tried Googling like Children of the Corn Indigenous, Children of the Corn Native, Children of the Corn Aztec, and like I couldn't find.
You definitely brought this up before.
Anything?
And I'm curious.
And it's definitely something that I have seen like Native scholars talk a little bit about the role of nativeness in Stephen King as a whole, but not in this one in particular. And so it's like, which
But
isn't to say it's
clearly
not
it's
out there.
like
I just didn't find it.
Yeah. Again, limited time
I'm
to
sure
research.
I'm sure somebody has thought about and discussed this in much better, more eloquent ways than I am doing.
Yeah,
but
I love that you brought that up though, because you did. Yeah, we touched on this for The Shining.
yeah, because it's like he's got a real fear around Indian burial grounds, quote unquote, man. Like it's
I know. I look at him in a different kind of context with that stuff now, but kind of forgot because it's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute, but so that's my film theory rant corner. Let me see if there's anything else that any other tidbits that we absolutely must touch on.
Yeah.
I think that's all of the essentials. I feel like we hit all of the
Look at
goodies.
us.
Look at us go, which is good because now we get to talk about next episode, which is a very special one.
I know.
For one
Knuckles
Al
cracked.
LaFleur.
Yeah, it's next episode's my birthday episode. I'm gonna be 35.
Oh.
Feels weird.
Does it feel weird?
I don't feel it on the inside. I'm fine with that age. I like being in my 30s. I feel like my 40s are gonna be my prime.
I feel like that's you haven't peaked yet.
But yeah, I do not feel like I've peaked yet at all. So anyone out there that's younger, I feel like there's plenty of time.
The peak is coming.
Although I have a horrible fear of death. But I just found out there's like a new quantum theory about how death might not actually be the end. I don't know.
Ooh.
Science.
Send me that.
Science about it. Yeah. So I feel like it's helping with my death anxiety. But yeah, so next episode is my birthday episode. I've been battling as you picked your films for your birthday. I feel like I've been internally struggling and overthinking. Surprise. Yeah. That's not like me to overthink. But I've been like struggling with what to do of like, what. Here's the context. You know, someone's like, pick your top 5 favorite films of all time. I'm like, well, that changes, right?
That's constantly changing.
Yeah. And I'm like, but what films represent me?
Yeah. Well, and also like what would we maybe not otherwise watch on the podcast as soon if it weren't, because like again, Argento, part of the reason we did that is because like we didn't know if anybody was going to be interested in an Argento pairing, and
but
so
you were. Everyone was.
Thank you. It was very validating.
Too. I was glad. I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah.
Oh, I have another thing. Remind me. I want to shout out to everyone here, specifically you, that everyone might be interested in buying. It's something I just purchased for myself. Because I'm. Capitalism's got me by the throat.
It's got all of us by the throat.
But so yeah, I picked 2 films, and I picked these films because I realized these are what really got me into my next level of like truly becoming my own horror fan, like a horror fan in my own way. So my mom was the one that kind of introduced me to stuff.
Yeah,
these were like my first in college. Really kind of sinking my feet into what kind of has brought us to modern gore. So the first one is going to be 1987's Evil Dead 2.
Yes, because I've seen 1 but not 2.
You haven't seen?
I
Okay,
haven't seen
I don't think
2.
you've seen either of these. So yeah, we have Sam Raimi. Bruce Campbell's from Royal Oak, Michigan, which is where I was born. So I love that connection. And this is like one of my favorite films of all time. And then the other one we have is 1993. It goes by 2 names, but everyone knows it by this name, is Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. So we're going to do Evil Dead 2 and Dead Alive. And these are like so bloody, so gory, 2 huge directors. And I feel like these kind of like, I saw Dead Alive and I think I watched it every fucking day for like months and months and months. So I feel like these kind of got me into this very like weird, gory phase of my horror obsession.
What is Dead Alive about?
Great question. It's like a zombie outbreak, kind of, all contained in this home. It's like centered around this main character, and it just goes so. Have you seen it, Warren? I don't even know how to describe it. It's like every gory effect, I don't know. It's kind of just like really campy in the same way like Evil Dead is. It's just kind of like this outbreak of like zombies and this like goofy main character that just tries to like get through it all. There's a lot of shticks, but I feel like Peter Jackson, I think it's so funny because we all think Lord of the Rings, but I always like to bring it back to him. So those are my 2. We can discuss which ones we want to do. I don't know. I feel like
preference, but I don't.
Do you want to do Evil Dead?
It's your birthday.
Do you want to do Dead Alive?
I want to do Dead Alive.
I feel like Dead Alive feels like more like you because
I love Peter Jackson, and not because of Lord of the Rings, but because of
this one you love. It's bonkers. So I'm very excited. I feel like it's going to be, and we haven't done something super gory like this too. And I'm like, these two are just, I love these two. So
sorry, my phone just went off. Ugh.
Turn on your cell phones.
Googling to check and make sure that Peter Jackson did indeed direct the things that I'm thinking of. But there's
Brain Dead
two...
is the other name for this film too. There was some like changes within that, but yeah, Dead Alive.
He is the one who did Heavenly Creatures, which is one of my favorite gay teen murder movies. So good.
So yeah, you'll do that one. I'll do the other one. So it's a Michigan one too. So I feel like it's very fitting. So those are those. So yeah, next episode's birthday.
Next episode's my birthday.
And then you have a surprise.
I have been
horrible at keeping a secret.
On my fucking thread.
Seena's like, I won't tell you anything, but, and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. Because I've been working with Travis on this surprise because it was not one that I could pull off on my own. I need Travis's help to make it happen.
I hate surprises.
Not.
I just hate being surprised because my reactions are never what people. I suffer with reactions on stuff. If people can't tell, sometimes you'll say things. I'm like, oh, but I'm really genuinely excited.
I would not be doing this if I didn't know that it was up your alley because you're actually the one who suggested it first. It's an
This
alley
just really
idea.
goes to show that I don't remember anything I fucking said.
You didn't suggest that we do it for the podcast, but it's something you've been wanting to do for a very long time.
What if I wanted to do?
Travis and I are finally making happen.
What do I want to do?
Almost made happen 2 weeks ago when Travis texted me and was like, Sienna, she brought it up. We've got to fucking do something.
I have no idea. I genuinely, you guys have got me.
We are taking you to get your Scream tattoo, baby.
Yes! Oh my god, I did bring that.
Yes, I know you did. It was fucking terrifying.
I'm getting my Billy and Stu.
We're getting you your Billy and Stu heart tattoo.
Oh my god, stop.
From Bud at 4-Star. We've already chatted with Bud.
Oh my god, shut up. I love you guys.
They are going to, we're taking you there when the shop is closed so that we can film a behind the scenes.
Oh my god, we actually can record it?
Yep, we ran it by the owners of 4-Star.
Oh my god,
already.
we finally got the, okay. Oh my god, shut up. Oh, I'm so excited. Are you going to get anything?
I need to decide still because I would love to.
Oh my god, yeah. I want to bully you to get something.
I was thinking maybe we should get a little matching tattoo.
Oh my god, yeah. Totally down. Yeah. Totally down.
But the point was to get you your Billy and Stu.
Oh my god. I know, because I talked about it almost a year ago today.
Exactly.
When we started
and Scream was one of our very first ones. And I was like,
oh, it's an occasion. Oh my god, that's perfect.
So I hope that you don't feel too pressured to be getting stabbed on camera. But I was like, I feel like if there's anybody I know who would enjoy getting stabbed on camera, it's Al.
I've been stabbed a few times. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, thank you guys. That's so funny. Me and Trev totally talked about that.
He played it so cool and then immediately texted me afterwards and was like, Sienna, fuck.
Yeah, that makes sense because he was like, we should wait to get those together for Halloween. But that's like something we like to do is like we like to experience this thing and be like, oh, let's both do it together.
Yeah, so. He was like, I couldn't think of what to say. I just said we'll do it when I get back.
Good thing it was via text. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. The ditz comes out. There's a little bit of bleach blonde.
He was like,
really
I think they bought it, but I don't know.
Totally dick. I was like, what did I bring up to you guys? Behind the screens. Oh my god, you guys get to see me get stabbed for Scream.
So we need to Scream for Scream. Yeah. So we need to figure out the date. I've got one tentatively pinned with Bud.
Is it the 20th?
We've got to coordinate with your pirate weekend to get it figured out.
Oh my god. See, that's where my nerd comes in to wrap this up into full. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
oh my god, you guys.
Glad. I was like, I know there's no 100% guarantee. But I feel like if there's any surprise that I feel certain Al will enjoy.
Tattoos are very me.
And a tattoo that I knew you wanted to get already.
So. I know, it's at the top of my list.
Oh my god. It's happening, baby. It's happening on camera. Live.
Oh god. You guys get to all see me take pain.
I'm so excited.
Really well.
Yeah, I feel like let me think on it. I'll see if I can come up with a good idea of like a cute little tiny Splice Splatter 1 year anniversary.
Oh my god, guys, if you have suggestions,
if you have ideas for things,
good ones, please, preferably.
Things to put on my body.
Yeah. I was gonna say you have less, so I feel like for me, I'll just shove it somewhere. It'll be fine. The more tattooed you get, the less you care about what you're getting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places I could put one.
Yeah. Suggestions for Splice tattoo.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I'm excited for that. Before we pop out, just a reminder, we're going to be at Morgan Crypt at the end of September.
And at the Craft.
Yeah, the Craft screening at the Jean Cocteau Cinema.
September 6th through 8th. So
remember that.
There's still time to get tickets the week that this comes out. The second week that this is out, it will have already happened. But
yeah.
So get them all you can.
Yeah. And then, so we'll do a giveaway for Best Dress there. We'll be at the pop-up at the Crow's Nest on the 14th. If you follow us on social media, at Splice and Splatter, there's always, like, our link tree that has all the information to find all the things. And then... what else? I think that's mainly...
I think that's all our things.
It for the things. We said them all at the beginning. Did you guys make it this far? Who knows?
Did I make it this far? Who knows?
And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Warren. I'm so glad that bit by bit we're getting more Warren participation.
The mics are coming out. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, also our 25th episode.
Oh, yeah. Happy 25th, Splice.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, we're coming up on a year. So we're going to have to do something, I feel like, for our 1 year anniversary.
Our birthday.
But yeah, thank you, Warren. Thank you, Theo Schaefer, for the music. And
thank you, Travis, from a distance, for reminding us how to format the SD card, even though you weren't here.
Yeah, thanks, Trav.
and for helping plan Al's birthday surprise.
Yeah,
couldn't have done it without you.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
so
a good
obviously
one.
it has to happen once he's back to film.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Yay.
That tattoo has been on my brain for forever.
I
And like
know it
last
has,
year,
bitch.
I'm glad I didn't get it last year. Now I can get it this year. So,
Exactly.
anyways, with that, thanks for listening to
Splice and Splatter, the film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema, where classic horror.
It's modern gore.
And with that, we'll be right back.